Chapter 9:17. The Warhound's kingdom was a large kingdom no matter what, and the Warhound's plains were all soldiers. How could they be destroyed so easily? Miracle commerce had left the southern summer country for a long time. When did they become this arrogant? It was fine if Chu Tian was like this, but Meng Qingwu had also been assimilated by this fellow. The southern summer country's strength is slowly recovering, but its battle strength is still not enough. It can protect itself, but it can't counterattack. The southern summer king gave a sigh. Not to mention that even if we can destroy the Warhound's kingdom's main force, there are still several tens of millions of fierce spirit beasts in the Warhound's plains. There is also the incomparably strong Eagle Burial Warring Kingdom behind the Warhound's plains. This was the truth. A warring kingdom was not a small matter. The Eagle Burial Kingdom's experts could not compare to the giants of the Forest of Chaos. But the Eagle Burial Kingdom was a large kingdom with over 1.5 billion people, and it was a spirit beast kingdom. The difference between the spirit beast and human kingdoms was very large. The human kingdoms were rich, prosperous, and civilized, while the spirit beast kingdoms were loose and barbaric. If a human kingdom and a spirit beast kingdom fought on the same level, they would not be able to win. A Warhound's plains with tens of millions of people could form a Warhound's kingdom. A Warhound's kingdom with tens of millions of people could form an army of 1 million. And a Warhound's kingdom with tens of millions of people could beat the southern summer country with 200 million people half to death. This was a spirit beast kingdom. A spirit beast kingdom where every citizen was a soldier. The Eagle Burial Kingdom had a conservative estimate of 1.5 billion people. This was considered a large kingdom on the continent. Moreover, with the characteristics of a spirit beast kingdom, the proportion of their army was very high, especially for a warring kingdom that fought all over the place. Therefore, the Eagle Burial Kingdom had tens of millions of soldiers, plundering all over the place and living by fighting. Wherever they went, they were shrewd, using the tributes from the subordinate kingdoms to feed their army. The Eagle Burial Kingdom had been fighting all over the place, increasing their army and territory. This was a kingdom that was constantly expanding, and the southern summer country was just one of the countries the Eagle Burial Kingdom conquered to the south. Their strength could not be underestimated. Even if the Eagle Burial Kingdom is strong, fighting on all sides at once, they can't gather their forces at all. It is impossible for them to send their army to the southern summer country. Meng Qingwu was not worried about the Eagle Burial Kingdom at all. If the Eagle Burial Kingdom had enough troops, what were they doing over half a year? After dilly-dallying for so long, they only sent 300,000 soldiers to the Warhound's kingdom. This meant that the Eagle Burial Kingdom could not send too many troops. Once the north is attacked, we will have a buffer zone, and Central State will not need to constantly face the Spirit Beast army. Chu Tian slapped the table. We'll just rule the Warhound's plains and create a northern militant kingdom. Everyone was speechless. This was becoming more and more ridiculous. Was the Warhound's kingdom a country that could be easily destroyed? Was the Warhound's plains that easy to rule? The tens of millions of spirit beasts were all nomads. In the 10,000-mile-wide plains, they were elusive and hard to track. So how could they be easily found? Meng Qingwu did not say anything, but she began to deploy. The new generation of source energy weapons have been developed, so we'll use this chance to test its power. Have Dongfang Howren bring Miracle Commerce's southern state reserve Berserker army over. Gu Qinxiu quickly said, "To Chairman, you have to reconsider. The Southern State Reserve Army is an army that Miracle Commerce trained for several months and spent over 1 billion gold coins to create. Once the war begins, the soldiers' pay, the merit rewards, and all sorts of other expenses will not be a joke." Yin Tianhe also said, "This kind of large-scale war will be a drag on Miracle Commerce's development. It's better to bide our time and wait for the kingdom to cooperate with the company. Our Miracle Commerce can't even afford this bit of money." Chu Tian had already made his decision. Central State City does not need to interfere. Miracle City's strength is enough. This war will end in less than half a month, and we'll unify the Warhound's plains in 2 months. The Southern Summer King knit his brows. It was true that Chu Tian liked to speak arrogantly, but looking at the historical records, his arrogance was well-founded. As for Meng Qingwu, she was a cautious person who would never let go of an arrow. If the two of them were this confident, it meant that they might be able to solve this problem. Good. Since the two of you have already decided to fight, how can this king hide behind the scenes? The current Southern Summer King was a wise and decisive person. The Southern Summer Country cannot rely on strong reinforcements. Otherwise, it will cause the country's morale to decline. This king has decided to gather 150,000 soldiers and follow you to the north. There was no need for Central State's 150,000 soldiers. After staying in the Forest of Chaos for a long time, the Southern Summer Country's army was weak in his eyes. They were no different from chickens and dogs. Southern State City was Miracle Commerce's camp, and there were close to 30,000 barbarian berserkers stationed there. The strength of these berserkers surpassed the Southern Summer Country's over 100,000 soldiers. Unless it was a trump-card army like the Griffin Knights or the Earth Dragon Knights, it was impossible for them to fight against these berserkers. How hard was it to raise a trump-card army? If the Southern Summer Country had 20 to 30,000 Griffin Knights or Earth Dragon Knights, history would have already been rewritten. Miracle City's most terrifying thing was not their special army, but rather the terrifying equipment these terrifying troops had. The source energy weapons were enough to raise the army's strength by several levels, so they were not inferior to the elites of a warring kingdom. Miracle Commerce's main commander was Dongfang Haoran. This former Southern Summer King's prince was now the calm martial ruler of the Southern Summer Country. He had made large progress in this half a year, but he had never commanded a large-scale battle before, so he could use this chance to sharpen himself. After a few hours, the Central State Transport Tower continued to shine. The Minotaur Chief Arnold, the Shaman Priest Luz, the Ogre Chief Nathaniel, the Tiger Chief Andre. There were several dozen people in the Forest of Chaos. The most powerful local warriors all gathered here. Whether it was the Southern Summer King, the Divine Wind Marquis, or the Golden Arrow Marquis, their faces all twitched. They had never seen so many different races and different foreign races. What shocked the Southern Summer King and the Divine Wind Marquis the most was that these people were all experts in the peak 3rd True Spirit layer, with the strongest people almost reaching the 4th True Spirit layer. This was several dozen true spirit experts. This was a lineup the small Southern Summer Country did not even dare think of. Any one of these people would be invincible in the South. The effect of these mere dozens of people on the battlefield was superior to that of an elite lion with more than 100,000 men. If these people caused trouble in Central State, the consequences would be unimaginable. There was no one in Central State City that could stop them. City Lord, Arnold's nostrils flared. How do we get sent here all of a sudden? Where is this? The others didn't react in shock. They were all looking around in shock. The huge ogre's gaze swept across the other humans. That ferocious glint in his eyes and his imposing aura made it hard for them to breathe. All of you listen well. Chu Tian walked in front of them with his hands behind his back. Although he was facing several dozen fierce forest locals, he was not intimidated by the other side's aura at all. Don't say that the City Lord did not give you a chance. This is a country outside of the Forest of Chaos, and there is a very wide plain in the north that has large amounts of food and land to steal. I brought you here this time for no other reason than to steal territory and food. The eyes of these locals lit up. They actually came out of the Forest of Chaos to steal territory and food. This kind of thing was indeed very rare to them. The people there are pitifully weak. You have to properly grasp this chance. Yes, City Lord. Everyone rubbed their fists in excitement. Chu Tian waved his hand, indicating for everyone to be quiet. This is the Southern Summer King. The Southern Summer King slightly recovered and immediately had people prepare food. These brave warriors have come from afar, and the Southern Summer Country has hastily prepared food. So I'm afraid we haven't taken good care of you. Someone, come and receive the warriors. These country bumpkins have never left the forest in their lives. This group of country bumpkins, when have they ever enjoyed the luxurious life of humans? The Southern Summer King and the Southern Summer High Level all attached great importance to this. They were lucky enough to visit the Southern Summer Country. This was something they never dared think about in their entire lives. In the next 2 days, whether it was eating, drinking, or living, they all had people serving them. This was simply an unprecedented experience. When these several dozen people walked through the city, they immediately caused a stir in Central State, and people ran away in fear. However, when the radio station and the media announced their identities, everyone's attitudes changed. These grotesquely shaped fellows actually found reinforcements from the endless forests in the south. These were warriors that had defeated the warhounds for the Southern Summer Country. Each one was a true expert. The Southern Summer citizens were no longer panicking and treated them like heroes. Arnold and the others had never received this kind of treatment before. These country bumpkins had lived here for a day or two and were praised to the heavens, satisfying their vanity. At this time, a Heaven's Eye airship in the sky above the 4 states lakes sent back information and images the enemy has been locked onto, heading northwest. They are mainly riding giant flying mounts. Although the images were not clear, they could vaguely tell that the Eagle Burial Kingdom had over 20,000 people. They had learned from their previous failure, and the warhounds would not fight with the Southern Summer Country on the water. Instead, they used giant rocks to transport their troops. Each giant rocks could transport 600-700 soldiers, and other than several dozen giant rocks, the rest were air cavalry. This kind of formation allowed the troops to come and go as they pleased. Their target was clearly the Central State Port or important areas like the factories. After causing trouble and damage to the Southern Summer Country, they would immediately retreat, not wanting to continue fighting. The giant transport beasts and air cavalry worked together. The Southern Summer Country's air force was very weak, so this arrangement was to attack their weakness. Miracle Commerce relied on Oldman Small Town to buy many flying demon beasts from the nearby tribes. Miracle City also trained and bought large amounts of flying demon beasts, but distant water could not quench a nearby thirst. The transport tower's transport capacity was limited, so unless they created a space gate, it was impossible to transport the troops. Chapter 9:18. Luz said in a grateful voice, "It's all thanks to Sir City Lord's help that several 100,000 people have gathered over the past 2 days. I think most of them can become shaman believers. We will pick out talented people to train into shaman sorcerers to work for the City Lord. The shaman religion originated from the spirit beast religion, so there's a high chance of success in this area. With Miracle Commerce's support and the Forest of Chaos experts' help, if you can't succeed even with this." Chu Tian looked at him. "Don't come back to see me, just go eat shit and commit suicide." Luz wiped his sweat. Yes, we will definitely succeed." There was no problem with the Warhound planes. The transport tower couldn't be delayed any longer. At this time, the great Summer King, Dongfang Gan, contacted Chu Tian. He had already prepared the map and information of the various countries and also wanted Chu Tian's help. He wanted Chu Tian to make a trip to the Great Summer Northern Capital. The Great Summer Imperial City had been moved to the Central State. The former Imperial City had been renamed the Northern Capital, and although it wasn't the capital, it was still several hundred years old and was the #1 city in the north. When they announced their independence as the Great Summer Kingdom, all kinds of trouble came. A large kingdom was not just a name. Once they became a large kingdom, their diplomatic rank would be higher than the small kingdoms. The surrounding small kingdoms would even have to pay taxes to the large kingdoms for protection. There weren't many interactions between kingdoms in this era. Unless it was a subordinate kingdom or a vassal kingdom, there wasn't any geopolitical considerations. However, if there were several powers appearing in the same area, it would affect the interests and influence of those with vested interests. The Warhound's kingdom was a subordinate kingdom of the Eagle Burial Kingdom. There was no other way. The Great Summer Kingdom was an independent kingdom. So how could it be easy for them to become a large kingdom? The surrounding kingdoms all had opinions about the Great Summer Kingdom, but these small kingdoms had limited abilities, so there was no need to care about them. What they needed to do now was to take care of some of the large kingdoms. This did not conflict with Chu Tian's mission. Chu Tian needed to find the incomparably precious spatial crystals, so he couldn't just run to a small kingdom to find them, right? Since it was like this, he would just do it. After obtaining the map and the relevant information, Chu Tian began his visit as a great Summer Kingdom scholar. I still don't understand a bit. Meng Yingying sat on the airship. How did you turn the weeds into food? These are clearly weeds, so why do they have the ability to cure illnesses? Actually, it's not hard to explain. The Warhound Plain soil is very fertile and contains a lot of spiritual energy. The grass can raise the herds of beasts on the plains, which means it contains a lot of energy. However, humans and demon beasts have different body structures, so we can't absorb it. Chu Tian paused before continuing. I just used medicine and source energy arrays to make the grass easier to absorb. It can indeed fill one's stomach and maintain one's life, but it doesn't have high nutritional value, so it's not suitable for long-term consumption. Meng Yingying revealed an expression of understanding. Then the reason why the food can cure illnesses is because the antidote was mixed into the medicine. There are also times when you aren't stupid. Pay, you're the stupid one. The two of them sat on the airship chatting and playing. Chen Bingyu sat on the side, holding a cup of tea, not saying a single word. Meng Yingying was tired from playing with Chu Tian. Where are we preparing to go? Chu Tian opened a large map with the Warhound Plains as the center. There were countries all around the Warhound Plains, with 3-4 small kingdoms in the north. Only these small kingdoms had smaller territories and populations than the southern summer country and had already been annexed by the Eagle Burial Kingdom. So, to the north of these small kingdoms, there was a large kingdom territory. Although the map couldn't depict the entire Eagle Burial Kingdom, just a part of it was like Mount Tai was covering the north. The Eagle Burial Kingdom was a spirit beast warring kingdom and the only warring kingdom nearby. Chu Tian had no interest in the Eagle Burial Kingdom and the Eagle Burial Kingdom's sphere of influence. Because of the chaos of war, it was hard for these places to have a mature market, so it was unlikely he could find the materials he wanted. Chu Tian's eyes looked over the large and small kingdoms around the Warhound Plains, finally falling onto a country in the southwest that wasn't small. This country was narrow and long, not too big, but it was a place where several earth veins intersected, therefore it was rich in resources. When Chu Tian saw the name of the country, he immediately thought of the bronze-masked old man he met in the Central State black market. Looking around, there are only a few large kingdoms. This can be considered one. There hasn't been any large disturbances in several hundred years. Although the country isn't big, it is rich in resources, so the country's strength should be very strong. This is a large kingdom that is more worthy of its name than the Warhound's Kingdom or the newly formed Great Summer Country. Let's go there. What is the name of its country? Great Zhou Country. Meng Yingying and Chu Tian didn't have any reactions. Chen Bingyu, who had been sitting quietly, suddenly trembled, and the cup in her hand fell to the ground, shattering into pieces. Meng Yingying asked in a strange voice, "What's wrong with elder sister Bingyu?" Chen Bingyu realized that she had forgotten herself. "No, nothing." Meng Yingying's face was filled with confusion, and Chu Tian also saw it. Chen Bingyu was hiding some secrets. This woman's background was not normal, and she might not even be a Southern Summer citizen. From her reaction just now, could she be related to the Great Zhou Country? The Great Zhou Country wasn't much larger than the Southern Summer Country, but because of its strange shape, it was like a long snake twisting and turning. It allowed it to have direct or indirect contact with the Eagle Burial Kingdom, the Warhound's Plains, the Southern Summer Country, and even the Forest of Chaos. In the ancient era, the Great Zhou Country was a very prosperous land, so there were many precious inheritances and ruins left behind. The Great Zhou Country was built on the inheritances of their ancestors, so there were many sects in the Great Zhou Country. All kinds of inheritances clashed with each other. This was a country of sects, so there was no fixed royal family or noble class. It was mainly the sects that ruled the country. The Great Zhou Country was a relatively close neighbor and also the strongest one. Chu Tian came to visit the Great Zhou Country as a Great Summer Country scholar, and it was best if he could form an alliance with the Great Zhou Country. The Eagle Burial Kingdom dominated the north, so they were always a threat. If the Great Summer and Great Zhou countries joined together and supported the northern militant kingdom as the vanguard, it wouldn't be hard to resist the Eagle Burial Kingdom. At least they could stop them from going south. Of course, it was hard to say if the Great Zhou country would give Chu Tian face. The airship flew tens of thousands of meters in the air, crossing countless deserts and fields before finally leaving the Great Summer country's territory. Ancient cities and buildings began to appear in front of them. The world was large, and there were all kinds of strange things. Even human countries had different customs. The Great Zhou country's powers were hidden deep in the mountains, and the sects were built in deserted paradise lands. The strength of the cities in the secular world wasn't that strong, and most of the cities were just representatives of sects in the secular world. They cultivated elixirs and raised spirit beasts, but in the end they had to pay tribute to the large sects, using this method to obtain protection. They arrived at the Heavenly Mountain. The Heavenly Mountain was one of the Great Zhou country's 8 famous mountains, and it was said to be one of the most ancient ruins. One of the Great Zhou country's 6 large sects, the Black Moon sect, a sect that had existed for thousands of years. The surrounding large and small cities were all built around the Heavenly Mountain, belonging to the Black Moon sect's outer sect. Each city in the Black Moon sect's sphere of influence was the Black Moon sect's property. If the Black Moon sect didn't protect them, these people wouldn't be able to survive here. Because of this, the people of the Heavenly Mountain treated the Black Moon sect as their highest duty. Most people would choose to join the Black Moon sect's outer sect as an outer sect disciple. If their talent was good enough, they could enter the Heavenly Mountain and officially become an inner sect disciple of the Black Moon sect, obtaining the Black Moon sect's thousands of years of inheritance. The Great Summer country used states as geographical units. The Great Zhou country used mountain gates as geographical units. This was very interesting. In order to not attract too much attention, Chu Tian decided to ride a normal griffin to discuss the situation. Although he was the Great Summer country's envoy, meeting the Great Zhou country's king was a very troublesome matter. Wow, a griffin! It's actually a griffin. Chu Tian brought Chun Bingyu and Meng Yingying to a place called Gathering City, which should be one of the largest cities near the Heavenly Mountain. What made the 3 of them feel strange was that when they rode a griffin here, it immediately caused a stir. It was as if the Gathering City citizens had never seen such a high-level mount before. Meng Yingying was puzzled. The Great Zhou country is a true large country. Why is a level 2 flying mount making such a big fuss? The Great Zhou country's peak strength is concentrated in the large mountain gates. Chen Bingyu said in a low voice, "These secular cities only have a few outer sect powers. They aren't that strong." The Great Zhou country's strength was not evenly distributed. This was also a characteristic of sectarian countries. Chu Tian didn't care. When he was about to inquire about the situation, the crowd suddenly separated and a large group of black armored guards charged out. The one leading them was a large fat man wearing a jade robe. "What sect are you from?" This fat man first looked at the handsome griffin with a greedy gaze, and then his eyes fell onto Meng Yingying. He couldn't help revealing a look of surprise and joy, but his voice was very arrogant. Without reporting, "Why are you charging into the Heavenly Mountain?" Chu Tian wasn't here to cause trouble. He cupped his hands and said, "I am a Great Summer country scholar. I have come to visit a famous mountain in the Great Zhou country. May I ask?" "Great Summer country? Huh. Are you talking about the small country that was beaten half to death by the spirit beasts in the southeast?" After this fat man understood where Chu Tian's group came from, his attitude became even more disdainful. These people looked so young, and they came from a small country. There were probably some young master or miss from that place who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth to come here. "I am an outer sect elder of the Black Moon sect and a deacon of Gathering City. You have entered the Heavenly Mountain. This is already breaking the rules. Leave this griffin and use it as a tribute to the Black Moon sect." Meng Yingying was filled with rage. It had been a long time since someone dared to bully them. This was intolerable. "Fatty, why are you so unreasonable?" "Humph, these are the rules. It's just a griffin. No problem, no problem. Chu Tian patted Meng Yingying's shoulder and comforted her. With his status and identity, he really didn't care about a level 2 demon beast. This esteemed elder, can you introduce me to the higher-ups of the Black Moon sect? The fat man was a bit shocked. This brat just gave out a level 2 griffin like this? This griffin was worth at least 20 low-grade source stones. Could it be that he had met a group of prodigal children? My Black Moon sect is one of the great sects of the Great Zhou continent. How could a nameless rat like you have the qualifications to visit us? Don't think that a griffin can knock down the doors of the Black Moon sect. However, if you're sincere, I can give you a chance. The fat man revealed a sinister expression. Recently, I have been cultivating a strange dual cultivation technique. If you can lend me your female companion, I might happily agree. Chapter 919. The Oldman small town's oil mine had already been mined, and with the silver oil as the foundation, Miracle Commerce had already developed a new generation of energy. With this as the foundation, naturally, they could create a new generation of weapons. Miracle Commerce had established a large market in the Oldman small town, continuously sending materials to the southern summer country's secret weapon factory. Now there was already a batch of weapons being made. Meng Qingwu contacted the factory, and a new batch of weapons was immediately sent over. It looked like a source energy cannon, but it wasn't the same. The source energy cannon fired a wave of energy at the target, creating a strong, killing effect. But the source energy cannon was very strong, but it had a very hard-to-ignore flaw. The energy wave it fired was condensed from energy, so it would constantly weaken and dissipate. The further it was fired, the weaker it would be. Once it passed a certain distance, it would completely dissipate, and its effective range and killing radius would be limited. The weapon sent over now was a weapon that could fire live ammunition, a large-scale rocket launcher. Miracle Commerce's employees brought out 3-meter-long rockets. The rocket launcher was incomparably large, with each one as thick as a person's thigh. It was covered in blue crystals and was reinforced with large amounts of runes, releasing waves of energy from the inside. The bottom of the rocket launcher and the rocket launcher have a compatible source energy array. Once the rocket launcher is fired, a large amount of energy will be sent out. It can reach a distance of 100 miles, and its average speed is 7 miles per second. If it encounters a large amount of resistance, it will explode. This is a pretty good long-range weapon. The rocket launcher's head is made of second-generation energy, and its destructive might is very strong. Even a mid or late true spirit realm expert would find it hard to take it head-on. Meng Qingwu continued to explain, this weapon was invented to attack fortifications and large targets that wouldn't move. Now with Smart Brain, perhaps we could try to directly attack the enemy's moving troops. Chu Tian said, instead of saying this much, it's better to give it a try. Zero, are you prepared? We're already prepared. Good, let's go. Several new warships were docked in the Central State Port. These were the new generation warships jointly developed by the Southern Summer Royal Family and Miracle Commerce. Not only did they use high-level source energy, they were also equipped with the first-generation source energy cannons. Whether it was speed or battle strength, they were all impeccable. 5 rocket launchers were sent to the deck of a large warship. This time the rocket launchers were not manually operated. Rather, Zero was placed here to form a temporary control panel. This control panel was not only connected to the rocket launchers, it was also connected to the information sent back by the Heaven's Eye airship. The enemy's position, speed, and direction were all quickly sent into the source energy matrix. With 10 energy columns working at the same time, the entire system quickly worked. The first-generation Smart Brain was large and cumbersome, but it could calculate 500 million times per second. It was enough to process a large amount of data. The enemy's position, trajectory, and flying speed, as well as the weapon's data, could be calculated accurately. The Southern Summer Army had already gathered. 150,000 Central State City elites had boarded the warships, and the 30,000 Southern State Berserkers were on the way. It could be said that the Warhounds were under the Southern Summer Country's surveillance, so it was impossible for them to sneak attack them. Only the two sides were so far away that they couldn't even see it with binoculars. Could the rocket hit the target in the air? This was not the same as bombing a city. The target was far, small, and still active. This was definitely not an easy task. The Southern Summer Kings group, Arnold, Druz, and the others were all standing on the deck, waiting for this moment to happen. The target is in range and has been locked on. It can be fired with an estimated hit rate of 87%. Zero's emotionless mechanical voice came. Do you want to fire? Chu Tian looked at the empty sky and nodded. Fire. Zero coldly said, begin firing. The rocket launcher was slightly adjusted, and with a few continuous rumbles, 5-pointed and long spear-shaped rockets were launched into the sky. The tail flames were neither gorgeous nor long, and only a light blue and white energy flow was released. However, the speed was raised to the extreme in an extremely short period of time, as if it was going to pierce through space. When the air was violently rubbing against each other, it actually ignited into raging flames, immediately wrapping around the entire rocket. Too fast. The rocket instantly broke through the sound barrier and then wildly accelerated, reaching its fastest speed in just a few seconds. It was around 6-7 miles per second, which was around 10 times the speed of sound. How shocking was 10 times the speed of sound? Even a true spirit realm expert would find it hard to reach 10 times the speed of sound. The Warhound's army was around 1,000 meters in the air, not knowing that danger was quickly approaching. When they vaguely discovered that there were several streaks of light in the sky, it was already too late. The rocket was much faster than the speed of sound. Therefore, it was already too late when they discovered the sound of air braking. The 5 rockets burned from the friction of the air, turning into 5 meteors falling from the sky. They flew across tens of thousands of miles, breaking through everything as they flew forward. The Warhound's commander did not even have time to shout before the 5 missiles hit the giant rock. There was no explosion. It was a storm. Shockingly, it was an energy storm that was expanding. The giant rock was instantly swallowed by the energy storm, and its entire body was turned into minced meat. Several hundred Warhounds elites were instantly torn apart by the energy, not even leaving a corpse behind. Terrifying. Too terrifying. Everyone could see the energy storm in the sky from afar. Even if they weren't killed by the explosion, with such a terrifying energy storm, it would be hard for them to escape unscathed. It can't be. Nangong Yun's eyes popped out. How could this power be this strong? Chu Tian nodded in satisfaction. This weapon isn't bad. We need to mass produce it in the future. This kind of missile weapon and pure energy weapon had their own style. The source energy cannon had a short range, but it was very strong in its effective killing radius, and it was almost impossible to intercept. After all, it was just a wave of energy, and its weakness was that it had a high requirement on the barrel. This kind of dense energy was condensed. How could normal materials withstand it? Therefore, strong materials were the prerequisites for high-level source energy cannons. The rockets and missiles had a long range. In the future, when miracle commerce entered the information age and automated smart brain era, it would have a terrifying killing range and deterrence. Because it was a real thing that was fired, the missiles would not be consumed before they exploded. Of course, the weakness was that it was easy to intercept, and its destructive power was weaker than the source energy cannons. Chu Tian said, "How many more of these rockets do we have?" Meng Qingwu shook her head and said, "This is the newest weapon, and this is the first time we're using it, so we don't have much in stock. This is just a test." "What? Truly disappointing," Chu Tian said with a sigh. "The company's production is too weak. We need to strengthen it and strengthen it." "All right, listen to my orders. We'll immediately move forward and take care of the fish that escaped the net." Although they didn't have any more rockets, their goal had been achieved. Several giant rocks were directly killed, and the Warhound soldiers suffered heavy casualties. They had suffered such a heavy defeat before even reaching Central State. It could be imagined how much of a blow this was to the Warhounds. Even if the remaining survivors could still fight, they would not have any fighting spirit left. The 150,000 Southern Summer soldiers started their warships, and several hundred warships moved across the lake, creating a spectacular scene. Everyone only had one goal, which was to head to the Tsang State Port on the northern shore of the Four States Lake and directly attack the Warhounds' fortress. The defeated Warhounds did not need the southern summer country to chase them at all. The giant shark gang intercepted them while they were retreating, catching all the survivors of the Warhounds' ambush in one fell swoop. After Chu Tian left, the giant shark gang underwent an earth-shattering change. Boss Yu had already become a true spirit cultivator, and the giant shark gang's members had doubled in half a year, becoming the #1 gang in the southern summer country. This was a power that no one dared ignore, especially in the Four States Lake. At this time, a ship from southern state filled with berserkers arrived. After the southern summer country's army gathered, they majestically headed to the northern shore's Tsang State Port. The southern summer soldiers had been waiting for this counterattack for too long. The southern summer country and the Warhounds had a deep grudge, especially after Imperial City had been taken and the northern states had fallen. Countless southern summer citizens had been slaughtered and plundered, causing the southern citizens to be filled with rage. Only facing the Warhounds' aggressive stance, the southern summer country had no way of turning the situation around. Chu Tian once again raised the morale of the southern summer soldiers. Miracle Commerce was participating in this battle, so they would definitely succeed. Everyone's aura was like a rainbow, swallowing 10,000 miles like a tiger. They charged forward without stopping for a moment. The Warhounds never would have thought that the southern summer country would suddenly have a decisive battle. The southern summer country wanted to take advantage of the Warhounds' lack of reaction and destroy their foundation, taking back the southern summer country's lost land. Chu Tian said, "This kind of direct attack will cause too many casualties, so we'll go ahead and do something behind them." All right. Vivian immediately brought Chu Tian with her as they moved through space. Vivian's innate spatial energy was not bad, being able to travel several hundred kilometers with each teleportation. Although Chu Tian also had innate spatial energy, he could only teleport short distances. "We're here." The two of them arrived at Tsang State a day earlier than the fleet. This was the junction between Tsang State and the Imperial region. There were several ports in Tsang State that were located here, so it was a very prosperous place for the southern summer country. Ever since it was occupied by the Warhound spirit beasts, this place had completely changed. Chu Tian used Vivian's ability to sneak into the Tsang State fortress. The two of them quickly placed time bombs in every corner of the fortress. These time bombs were made from the second-generation energy technology, so they were naturally very strong. When everything was prepared. Chapter 9:20. Meng Yingying's body trembled with anger. Chu Tian was not angry, not because he could endure it, but rather because he was very puzzled. What was this pig's brain made of? He was probably one of the strongest people in Yin Gathering City and was used to being tyrannical. He had the Black Moon sect behind him, so he was not afraid of these young people from small countries. But did he not notice that he could not see through the cultivation of these 3 young people? This damn pig was at most in the 5th to 6th awakened soul layer. In Chu Tian's eyes, this level was not even considered trash. In the past, even a third-rate expert in Imperial City would be stronger than him by a large amount. Even in Central State City, he would at most be considered second-rate. This kind of idiot was crazily shouting at these true spirit cultivators, and he actually felt good about himself. For a poor and small country to be able to cultivate in a large country, this is the blessing of several lifetimes. I am an outer sect elder of the Black Moon sect, and many of my family's elders are in the Black Moon sect, so I will enter the inner sect sooner or later. At that time, I will have a status in the Great Zhou country. What this brat can give you, I can also give you, so why do you need to follow a young master from a small country? The fatty already considered Meng Yingying to be his, "I don't like to use force, so if you know what's good for you, then come over. Otherwise," Chu Tian shook his head. "Yingying, if you can't hold it in, then don't hold it in. It wouldn't be good if you hurt your body, so I'll protect you if anything happens." The Black Moon sect's outer sect elder was stunned by Chu Tian's words. Meng Yingying released a dazzling glow of spirit energy, A mirror appeared above her head, and a giant flame bird appeared in the mirror. An incomparably hot spirit energy surged out. Accompanied by a loud and divine phoenix cry, it suddenly resounded through the 9 heavens. The onlookers were all stunned. Chu Tian also revealed a shocked expression. Meng Yingying's mirror source spirit's main ability was duplication, but duplication had its limits. 2 high-level source spirits, 2 high-level cultivation techniques. She had no way of duplicating them. Other than that, the duplication source spirit was effective, but the mirror image would disappear after a few days. Now not only could Meng Yingying duplicate a god-level source spirit, she could also keep a mirror image. This meant that this girl's strength had increased by a lot, and her source spirit had also increased with her strength, so she could keep a permanent mirror image. Although it was lacking in charm compared to the real Fire Phoenix source spirit, it was still a very strong battle-type source spirit. Countless flames turned into a pair of giant phoenix wings, and countless flames filled with a destructive aura flowed around her body, making her look like a goddess that controlled flames and the power of destruction. Even a blind person would be able to see it. This little girl that didn't look that old, her cultivation was far beyond imagination. That fatty quickly shouted, "I am the Black Moon Sect's outer sect elder, and this is the Heavenly Een Mountain Ranges territory. If you dare touch a single hair on my head, do you think you can escape unscathed? Humph, I've followed Chu Tian for this long. You want to scare me with this kind of threat?" "Ha!" Meng Yingying gave a tender laugh. Heaven-burning fist. This move was clearly copied from Nangong Yun's body. A huge flaming fist smashed into the fatty's body, and that pitiful protective Yuan Qi evaporated like it had met with high-temperature water. The berserk flaming energy was like a flood that broke through a dam and instantly smashed into a house on the opposite side, burning a hole in the ground along the way. Meng Yingying was shocked by herself. I actually became this strong. He had clearly used 20% of his strength in that punch. Damn, fatty couldn't have been killed in one punch, right? The surrounding people began to shout in fear. "Ah, the elder has been beaten. How dare you? You actually dare to beat the outer sect elder of the Black Moon Sect in Tianyin Mountain." Dozens of black armored guards surrounded them in anger and shock. Meng Yingying casually sent out another palm, this time using only 10% of her strength. The palm energy turned into raging flames, attacking the dozens of guards. They were like dozens of logs that had been set on fire, falling to the ground with a ping, ping, pang, pang, pang sound. They painfully fought against the flames on their bodies. Not a single one of them was able to get up. Chu Tian walked in front of Meng Yingying, who was in a daze, and said with a smile, "How is it? Does it feel good to beat people up?" She had never beaten up someone who bullied her like this before. It felt good enough, but wasn't a bit too much. "I'm sorry, I only used 10 to 20% of my strength." Meng Yingying's face was filled with embarrassment. She looked at the people rolling on the ground, and then looked at Chu Tian. I didn't think they would be this weak. This couldn't be blamed on her. Meng Yingying had very little battle experience, and her strength had increased very quickly, so she couldn't fight as she pleased. "AI, this is nothing. This is already considered light." Chu Tian shook his head. Nangong personally made a move. Even if she only used 10% of her strength, she would still be able to burn these fellows to ashes. Although you can duplicate the Fire Phoenix source spirit, you still can't obtain its essence. You still have to work hard. Meng Yingying received Chu Tian's affirmation and immediately said with a smile, "Yes." The Great Zhou country's sects are very clear. Outsiders making a move in their territory is considered a great provocation. Chun Bingyu slightly knit her brows and reminded him, "The Black Moon sect is very strong. They have over 10 true spirit experts in their sect. We might cause trouble." Chu Tian looked at Chun Bingyu with an intriguing gaze. Big Sister Bing seems to be very familiar with the Great Zhou country. But Chu Tian was never a person afraid of causing trouble. Taking one step at a time was not Chu Tian's style, so it was better to make a large hole in the ground and let the Great Zhou country know of Chu Tian's existence. This would make things easier. With several long cries, Two coffins quickly flew over from the west. One coffin was fire red, with large amounts of fire runes engraved on it. The other was blue and white, with large amounts of ice runes engraved on it. Although their strengths were different, it was probably because they cultivated the same sex cultivation technique. They were both covered in a thick corpse energy and poison mist, charging over at a very fast speed. These are experts from the inner sect, the famous fire and ice twin sons. These are the Black Moon sect's young inner sect disciples with the best innate talent. Two figures jumped out of the two coffins. One was wearing a red robe covered in flames, and the other was wearing a white robe covered in frost. One fire and one ice, repelling each other, but also intertwining with each other. There was a feeling of ice and fire coming from the same source, circulating around each other. Who dares cause trouble in the Black Moon sect? The two inner sect elites were both wearing masks, but their stature and height were exactly the same. Even when they spoke, they were like a pair of twins. I did it. Meng Yingying sensed that the other side was not as strong as she imagined, around the 8-9th awakened soul layer. She was filled with confidence. The Great Zhou country was only so. Your Black Moon sect disciples bully the weak and have bad morals. I had to teach them a lesson. Shameless boasting. The two of them were instantly enraged. The Black Moon sect is an important place. How could we allow you to act so wildly? I'll let you see how strong the Black Moon sect is. Meng Yingying and Chu Tian looked at each other. After getting confirmation, she said without any fear, "Don't try to scare me. I'm not afraid of you." The fight between the two sides instantly erupted. The two Black Moon sect intersect elites used their secret techniques to attack Meng Yingying several times. What made them surprised was that no matter how they attacked, they would be bounced back by a layer of light. You're only SOSO. Meng Yingying was filled with pride. She felt like a war god had possessed her. Probably because she was in front of Chu Tian, she also wanted to show off, so she used her newly learned starlight movement technique. She took several steps in the air and flashed like lightning. Two palms shot out, clean and direct. It didn't seem like it was as powerful as when she hit the fatty, but she had already used 40 to 50% of her strength. Spirit energy condensed on her arms, forming a thick layer of true spirit. Even if it was steel, it would still be cut in half. True spirit energy. The two brothers were filled with shock. It's a true spirit cultivator. The two of them were filled with shock, but it was already too late to escape. Meng Yingying sent one flying with a palm, just like throwing away two pieces of paper. The gathering city onlookers were filled with shock. It was already not simple for a young girl to defeat an outer sect elder of the Black Moon sect, but they never would have thought that she could actually defeat an inner sect elite disciple. The strength of these two brothers wasn't bad. They could fight across realms, but it was impossible for them to defeat a true spirit cultivator. Not to mention that they couldn't break Meng Yingying's defense. Even if they were in the same realm, they most likely wouldn't be able to defeat Meng Yingying. Who are you people? Because her strength increased quickly and her spirit energy became stronger, it could increase her lifespan and slow down her growth. Meng Yingying's appearance had not changed at all. She was still the same as when Chu Tian saw her over a year ago. She looked to be around 15-16 years old, an ignorant young girl in the prime of her youth. A 15-16-year-old girl in the prime of her youth had a shocking, true spirit cultivation. This kind of matter was unimaginable even in the Great Zhou country. Yingying, stop! Chu Tian walked in front of the two Black Moon sect inner sect disciples. After all this time, you're on our side. If I knew earlier, I would have gone to find you. I haven't seen you a year, and your strength has increased quite quickly. The 10 corpse monster inner cores back then must have brought quite a bit of benefits. The Flame Ghost and Ice Demon brothers were a bit stunned. You are Lu Ren? Although it had been over a year, and the young man's appearance had changed, his temperament couldn't be changed. When Flame Ghost and Ice Demon saw him, they immediately recognized him as the mysterious youth Lu Ren they met in the southern summer country's black market. The sword on his back and the fox sleeping on his shoulder proved this point. Now it seemed like Lu Ren was just a fake name, and his appearance back then was a disguise. Chu Tian never thought he would meet these two brothers this coincidentally. That's right, it's me, but my real name is Chu Tian. Flame Ghost and Ice Demon looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. It really was this fellow. It was no wonder. Although they had only known Chu Tian for a short time, they knew that this youth was a monstrous genius. The Black Moon Sect's outer sect elder, the bronze-masked old man, had brought the Flame Ghost brothers to the 10,000 corpse ancient tomb. If it wasn't for this fellow, the two of them would have died like the outer sect elder. So it's Brother Chu. Flame Ghost quickly stood up. This was all a misunderstanding. Ice Demon also said, Brother Chu has done the Black Moon sect a favor. I think the sect master and the elders and protectors will want to see you. Chu Tian laughed. Then I'll have to trouble you two to introduce me. Chapter 921. Vivian cut open space and pulled Chu Tian out. She was already so tired that she almost fell to the ground. Her beautiful little face was red as she gasped for breath. She was covered in crystal-clear sweat, and she couldn't even say a word. Chu Tian patted her back to calm her down. What's wrong with you? It's only been a while, and you're already exhausted. Big Brother Chu Tian, it's easy for you to say. I almost died from exhaustion. Vivian had to teleport every 30 seconds, and she was carrying a person and a fox, so it could be imagined how much energy she consumed. Big Brother, don't you also have innate spatial energy? You can clearly do this kind of short distance yourself. This little girl was still complaining. I have many abilities, but I'm not good at it. If it's just spatial manipulation, how could I compare to you? Chu Tian was shameless. He first flattered the little elf, and then sincerely said, We have to be very precise in the enemy's fortress. We can't teleport more than half a meter away. This is also a chance for you to train and increase your strength as soon as possible. I feel that with your innate talent, if your cultivation base increases a bit, you won't need to show yourself in the future. You just need to open up space and place a bomb through it. Is that so? I will work hard. Vivian's thoughts were simple, and she immediately believed him. Then what do we do now? The little fox is divine. I could see the situation of the entire fortress. Chu Tian had Vivian place a large amount of source energy bombs, and it had been very smooth from start to finish, not leaving a single trace. Now, they just had to wait for the fleet to arrive. Dawn was about to pass, and the sky was about to light up when the Southern Summer Fleet finally appeared. The fleet was very large this time, with several hundred warships. There were several warships in the lead that were equipped with source energy cannons. They were currently lined up on the lake, and their momentum was very large. The warhounds were not blind. How could they not notice them? Alert! There are large amounts of warships on the lake. Damn, it's the Southern Summer Monkeys. It's the Southern Summer Monkeys. Send out the fleet and the Air Force. Immediately sink these monkeys. When the Southern Summer Fleet was still a few hours away from the port, the entire fortress began to defend themselves. The warhounds had occupied the north for over half a year, so it was impossible for them to not do anything. In fact, there were over 100 warships docked at the Tsang State Port, all of them collected by the warhounds through various methods. When the fleet at the port received the fortress order, they were about to leave the port and enter a battle formation, but they immediately exploded. The giant shark gang had placed source energy bombs under the warships, and before the two sides even touched, most of the warhounds' warships had already been destroyed. The warhounds were in chaos. The Air Force was sent out at this time. The warhounds' air superiority was the only advantage they had over the Southern Summer Country. Although the Southern Summer Country had the airships, they were too big and lacked mobility. Other than the Heaven's Punishment airships that could launch high-altitude cannons, their air force was very weak. Chu Tian gave a cold laugh, truly seeking death. When the warhounds' air force was prepared to attack the warships in front suddenly released a storm of light bullets. Several tens of thousands of energy bullets filled the sky, and the warhounds' vulture riders were instantly torn to pieces. The broken pieces fell into the lake and dyed the lake red. Source Energy Spear. This was clearly a source energy spear. The Warhound's spirit beasts knew that the southern summer country had quite a few of these weapons and were prepared to be attacked by them. But they thought that as long as they charged forward, these weapons would be a joke. In the end, they never would have thought that the southern summer country's attack would be 10 to 100 times stronger than they had imagined. Southern states' 30,000 reserve soldiers had arrived. This was an army Miracle Commerce had trained for themselves. Miracle Commerce did not hesitate to invest in this army. The 30,000 barbarian berserkers not only had shocking close combat strength, they were divided into teams of 10. Each team had at least one storm rifle and one source energy cannon, while the other members had submachine guns. 30,000 people meant 3,000 storm rifles. 3,000 storm rifles were enough to stir up a storm of death. Not to mention the fact that Miracle Commerce had developed a multi-barreled heavy firearm that had a total of 6 barrels and could fire 6,000 bullets per minute. This was a weapon that was even more violent than the Storm Assault Rifle, and Miracle Commerce's weapon designers called it the Heavy Destruction Rifle. Although it couldn't be moved, once it was fixed, it could create a strong suppressive fire in an area. Because the material and energy requirements were high, there was not enough production of these heavy machine guns. The entire army only had 10 of them, but it was enough to create a terrifying killing effect. With this kind of disparity in strength, was there even a need to fight? It wasn't that Chu Tian looked down on these fellows, but not to mention this amount. Even if the Warhound's aerial forces were 3-5 times larger, they still wouldn't be a threat to the Southern Summer Fleet. Miracle Commerce bought large amounts of materials and metals from all over the world, and most of them were used to create the source energy weapons. They never sold large amounts of weapons from start to finish and used all of the top weapons on their own army, selling the rest to the southern summer country. The destructive power of this army was not something any army could imagine. The Warhound's aerial forces were destroyed upon contact with the southern summer fleet. Only a small portion of them ran back in a sorry state, not daring to approach the southern summer army. "Seal the fortress! Seal the fortress!" Several wolf race commanders roared out in shock and anger. They never thought that the southern summer country would become this strong. Their weapons' progress was just too fast. It hadn't even been a year since the Imperial City battle, and their firepower had increased by more than 10 times. The Warhound's fortress soldiers were busy preparing for the defense of the fortress. Several dozen earth-shattering explosions came from the fortress. The source energy bombs that Chu Tian and Vivian had secretly placed had all exploded. Although it was just several dozen source energy bombs, even if it was a new type of bomb, it was not enough to destroy the several 100,000 soldiers. However, not killing them did not mean they had no effect. The source energy bombs were placed in important areas of the fortress, and this series of explosions not only caused the fortress defenses to collapse, it also caused all kinds of fortifications to lose their effectiveness. The fortress soldiers were in a mess, already falling into chaos. The Southern Summer Army had enough time to reach the port. The source energy cannons on the ships began to wildly bombard, turning the Warhound ships and port into ruins. Fully armed barbarian berserkers began to disembark. The Warhound's port guards were powerless to stop them. Miracle Commerce's berserker heavy infantry disembarked without any obstruction. These barbarian soldiers that were armed to the teeth headed for the exploding and burning fortress several dozen miles away, preparing all kinds of equipment. Almost at the same time, several airships appeared in the sky above the Warhound's fortress, and one of the Heaven's Punishment airships had already opened its bomb bay. As long as Miracle Commerce gave the order, countless powerful bombs would rain down on the fortress. It's over. It was completely over. The Warhound's fortress was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Whether it was the Berserker army, the bombing airships, or the Southern Summer Army of over 100,000, the fortress was in chaos, and there was no way to stop them at all. Although the spirit beasts were fierce by nature, facing this absolute disadvantage, they were filled with despair. They couldn't even display the spirit of a cornered beast. Chu Tian saw that the situation was about right. He picked up a communication device and opened the public channel. "Everyone pay attention, stop attacking. Everyone pay attention, stop attacking." All the attacking forces stopped attacking, but the air, land, and sea forces were already suppressing the fortress. Countless weapons were still aimed at the fortress, so the warhounds did not have any leeway to fight back. Connect to the airship loudspeakers. Chu Tian's communication device connected to the loudspeakers on the airships. His voice could be transmitted to the entire fortress through these loudspeakers, allowing every soldier in the fortress to hear him clearly. Good friends, I'm called Chu Tian. I think you all know me, so I'm too lazy to introduce myself. With the current situation, you have no chance of winning, so I'll give you a chance to live. Kill the Eagle Burial Kingdom's commander, put down your weapons, and surrender. I swear on my honor that I will not kill or mistreat any captives. Don't believe them. The expressions of the two Eagle Burial Kingdom commanders fell. Humans are despicable and cunning. They can't be trusted. We have already displayed our strength. There is no chance in this battle. Even if the Eagle Burial Kingdom personally comes, Miracle Commerce and the Southern Summer Country do not fear them at all. Since there is no need to fight this battle, why do you need to make pointless sacrifices for the Eagle Burial Kingdom? I'll give you 5 minutes. If the reply I want doesn't appear, I can only turn this place into scorched earth and set the entire Warhound Plains on fire. I'll slaughter your tribes. This was a naked threat. Did the Warhounds people have a choice? The spirit beasts were fierce by nature. They knew that with the current situation, it was impossible to take down the Southern Summer Country. Under their wild beast survival instincts, the fortress was filled with an uproar. Not long later, this uproar calmed down. The two Eagle Burial Kingdom commanders and several dozen high-ranking Eagle Burial Kingdom generals were killed. The several 100,000 fortress soldiers threw down their weapons and raised their hands in surrender. The Southern Summer people were a bit confused. The Southern Summer Country clearly had the advantage, so why did they let these forces go? If these several 100,000 people were killed, the Warhounds would be heavily injured and it would be hard for them to recover. Our true enemy is the Eagle Burial Kingdom, and the Warhound Plains are the buffer between the Eagle Burial Kingdom and the Southern Summer Country. As long as we force the Warhounds to betray the Eagle Burial Kingdom, the Warhound Plains will automatically become our buffer against the Eagle Burial Kingdom. Not only can we not kill these Warhound Plains soldiers, we must release them when necessary and even provide them with some equipment and help. Chu Tian added a point after saying this. Other than that, with this example of not killing captives, it will be much easier for us to recover them later. It was like what Chu Tian said. Not only did the Southern Summer Country not kill these several 100,000 soldiers, they were even feeding them well. When the Southern Summer Country sent out 3 armies to recover the Imperial Region, Furnace State, and Song State, they were unobstructed. The Warhounds already did not have confidence, and their morale was low. Now that their main force of several 100,000 had been defeated, what reason did they have to resist? Chapter 922. One of the great Zhou country's 6 famous mountains, the Heavenly Yin Mountain, was an ancient ruin. The Black Moon sect's ancestor excavated the ruins and obtained the inheritance of the ancient Heavenly Yin sect, creating this powerful sect. The mountain protecting array has been opened. Please come with us. Many thanks. This is how it should be. The Ghost Flame and Ice Demon brothers were very respectful to Chu Tian. Without Brother Chu, how could we be here today? But Brother Chu, we have to remind you that the Black Moon sect's elders and protectors don't have good tempers, so we hope you can pay attention to your words. Chu Tian agreed. The Black Moon sect's cultivation technique leaned towards demonic cultivators, so this kind of cultivator's interest would be affected and they would become angry easily. This was also the reason why demonic cultivators weren't easy to get along with. The 3 of them followed the secret path into a deep valley. On both sides were all kinds of fierce statues and Black Moon sect disciples guarding them. The large illusion array completely blocked the 5 senses. If it wasn't for the 2 brothers opening the mountain protecting array and revealing this path, others wouldn't be able to find the entrance to the Black Moon sect from the Heavenly Yin Mountain. Meng Yingying asked while walking, "You have friends in the great Zhou country. How come I don't know about this?" They couldn't even be considered friends. He explained the matter of the Corpse Valley. The Ghost Flame and Ice Demon brothers were just passers-by to Chu Tian. He thought they wouldn't meet again. He never thought they would meet in this kind of place. It was a matter of fate. In the beginning, Chu Tian gave the two brothers the 10,000-year-old corpse monster cores. Perhaps he didn't feel anything, but to the two of them, it was simply a favor of rebirth. The Great Zhou country had many sections. Each sect was divided into inner and outer sections. For a large sect like the Black Moon sect, they had at least a few thousand miles of land. They had several dozen cities and enjoyed the worship of tens of millions of people. And these tens of millions of people belonged to the outer sect. The outer sect was a vassal power. The inner sect was the true core power. The outer sect supported the sect to become stronger, and the sect became stronger to protect them. The inner sect disciples were all chosen from the outer sect, so the two sides were interdependent. But in comparison, there was a large difference in status. It was like a heavenly moat. The bronze-masked old man was an outer sect elder in the past. Frankly speaking, he was just a merchant that ran errands for the Black Moon sect. At that time, the Flame Ghost and Ice Demon brothers had great innate talents, but they were only chosen as inner sect disciples and did not officially enter the sect. It was because of the large amount of rewards that they exchanged for 10 corpse cores that their strength soared over the past year. Now, they were the most eye-catching stars of the Black Moon sect. The fatty did not place them in his eyes at all. The two brothers could feel it. Meng Yingying was the weakest of the three, but she still had a true spirit cultivation. Even in the Great Zhou country, this kind of person was rare, not to mention that a poor land like the southern summer country could give birth to such a monstrous talent. How could the two brothers not be shocked? According to this speed, they would reach an unimaginable realm in less than 10 years. The entire Great Zhou country would have to look up to them. A large number of grand buildings appeared in front of them. The Black Moon sect had around 200,000 people, and all of them were awakened soul cultivators. Just this strength was enough to look down on a small country, and they had over 10 true spirit cultivators. Just this one sect was much stronger than the southern summer country of the past. This was the difference between a large country and a small country. Greetings, Vice Sect Master, for great protectors and various elders. The Flame Ghost and Ice Demon brothers brought Chu Tian into a large hall. There were Black Moon sect cultivators on both sides, each wearing similar clothes. Although their clothes were different, they were all wearing masks. This is the Great Summer Country's scholar Chu Tian. Chu Tian's group of 3 stood in the center of the hall, ignoring the pressure from the surrounding Black Moon sect cultivators. His eyes passed through the hall and fell onto the people at the front. There were a total of 3 people here. One of them had a tall and sturdy figure, wearing a pitch-black robe from head to toe. He had a fierce black iron mask on his face, and his body was filled with a faint demonic chi. There were 2 people standing on his left and right. The 4 of them were dressed in green, red, blue, and yellow for different colors. Other than the colors, their clothes and masks were all the same. They were all wearing round robes with a deep hood over their heads. Each person was surrounded by a different kind of energy. Vice Sect Master Enlisine, the 4 great wind, fire, water, and earth protectors. There were also a few elders from the Black Moon sect. Each person was wearing a ghost mask, giving off a ghostly aura that made Meng Yingying feel very uncomfortable. The Black Moon sect's inherited cultivation technique was special. Normally, when a sect accepted a disciple, they would accept a certain type of innate talent, or they would use the inheritance to cover up their innate talent, allowing the entire sect to practice the same cultivation technique. The giant shark gang of the 4 States Lake was similar. The Black Moon sect was different in that they did not restrict innate talent. It was just that on top of the innate talent of their source spirit, they would use the characteristics of the Black Moon sect's Black Moon cultivation technique. The 4 protectors' spirit energy should be wind, fire, water, and earth. The wind was Yin wind, the water was Yin water, the fire was Yin fire, and the earth was Yin earth. This was a very good inheritance. The Vice Sect Master endless in slowly stood up, and the surrounding black chi was released. A deep voice came from behind the mask. You are the rogue cultivator from the small southern summer country that brought 10 corpse cores to the Black Moon sect a year ago. That's right. Chu Tian didn't care about endless Yin's contempt. The Black Moon sect is one of the Great Zhou country's 6 famous sects, and can be considered a pillar of the Great Zhou country. I, as the Great Summer Country's envoy, wish for the Great Summer Country and Great Zhou country to work together and resist the Northern Eagle Burial Kingdom. Ha 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 ha. A series of laughter came from the main hall, and a person dressed as a Black Moon sect elder stood up. Bullshit, Great Summer Country. Could it be that a respected large country can't even send a decent person? A brat who still smells of his mother's milk, and 2 women wanted to take advantage of the Great Zhou dynasty? You want to obtain the Black Moon sect support? Laughable, laughable. What qualifications do you have? Don't think that you can bribe the Black Moon sect with a few corpse cores. Chu Tian glanced at him. Your Excellency's name? The Black Moon sect's punishment elder, Yang Miao. Flame Ghost and Ice Demon became a bit embarrassed and immediately looked at Chu Tian. Elder Yang Miao couldn't be provoked. His in-water demonic technique had reached the perfection realm, and he had the highest status among the sect elders. His cultivation had reached the 2nd true spirit layer, and he had several dozen Black Moon sect secret techniques. 2nd true spirit layer? This didn't count for shit in the forest of chaos. A piece of trash like you dares to be arrogant in front of Father? These fellows' eyes were high above their heads, and they had bad intentions, so there was no benefit in being humble. Only by showing enough strength could they speak properly. That's right. We are small characters in the Great Summer Country. Chu Tian had already thrown his promise to the 2 brothers to the back of his head. But small characters like us are very curious and want to see the secret techniques of the Great Zhou country's famous sections. If the elder is generous, how about we make a bet? Yang Miao said with a cold smile. Are you worthy of making a bet with me? In a 10,000 corpse ancient tomb, I didn't just obtain 10,000-year-old corpse monster cores. Of course I'm not worthy, but it is. Chu Tian casually held the sword in his hand. When the ice-cold sword blade touched the ground, it released a cold aura that turned into a large piece of frost, the ancient soul-contracting weapon, the Netherworld sword. I think it is considered a top-grade treasure in the Great Zhou country. If the elder can defeat any one of the 3, this sword will be the Great Summer Country's gift to the Black Moon sect. The expressions of everyone present slightly changed. There was a trace of fluctuation in Endless Yin's eyes. Chu Tian's Netherworld sword was no longer the Netherworld sword he had just obtained. It had already recovered its strength and was even stronger than before. In a place like the Black Moon sect, it could be considered a top-grade treasure. The Black Moon sect had eyes above their heads. How could a small country like the Southern Summer Country place them in their eyes? They were willing to meet Chu Tian this time because they knew that Chu Tian had many treasures. They never thought that before they even made a move, Chu Tian would take out the Netherworld sword. Yang Miao gave a sinister laugh. Is it really like this? Would I lie to you here? Chu Tian shrugged his shoulders and said, If I win, you have to agree to some of my conditions. Was this little country's youth an idiot? What qualifications did he have to bargain in this kind of situation? Even if he could make the Black Moon sect agree to his conditions, would the Black Moon sect keep their promise? Little brother is this confident. The vice sect master, Endless Een, suddenly spoke up. It would be a waste if he didn't take the treasures sent to him. Elder Yang should exchange pointers with them. Let these small country cultivators see the Black Moon sect's cultivation technique. It can be considered doing a good deed. All right. Yang Miao's spirit energy was suddenly released. His body that was sitting on the seat suddenly changed shape. Like black water surging out, it flowed into the ground in front of him, instantly forming his body. There were still black water droplets moving around his body. Don't say that I'm bullying the weak. Whoever has the confidence to go up, it's fine even if all 3 of you come together. Such a strange cultivation technique. The Black Moon sect's elder gave people a feeling like his body had turned into invisible water. constantly changing and hiding danger. This was the perfection realm of the Yin water demonic technique. Meng Yingying volunteered, "I'll fight." Chu Tian deliberately provoked her. "Will you have a problem?" "No problem." Meng Yingying was filled with confidence. "I'll finish it in 10 moves." Chu Tian shook his head in dissatisfaction and said, "10 moves is too much. I'll finish it in 3 moves." Meng Yingying tilted her head and thought about it. "I'll try." Yang Miao's eyes turned dark and terrifying. "Are the Southern Summer people as arrogant as you?" "No, no. Actually, the Great Summer people are very humble." Chu Tian said with a smile. "Unless we meet trash that overestimates themselves and doesn't know themselves, then we will teach them a lesson." With these words, everyone's expressions changed. Ghost Flame and Ice Demon were stunned. Did Chu Tian's brain break? Didn't he know that he was in the Black Moon sect's territory? If he said these words in front of so many people from the Black Moon sect, would the Black Moon sect let him leave? Where would the face of one of the great Zhou 6 great sects go? With these words, this was simply a naked provocation. Yang Miao flew into a rage out of shame. "Bold. AI, don't be excited. I'm not targeting you alone." Chu Tian's eyes swept over the surrounding elders, as well as the protectors and vice sect masters. "I'm talking about everyone here." "Bastard." Before he even finished, Yang Miao angrily attacked, going around Meng Yingying to attack Chu Tian. When the Ghost Flame and Ice Demon brothers saw this, they almost couldn't stop themselves from banging their heads against the wall. They had truly caused a disaster this time. Chapter 923. The Warhound's southern fortress was effortlessly captured by the southern summer country. The general situation was set in stone, and there was no other way to change it. So what if the Warhound's plains had tens of millions of spirit beasts as soldiers? In this world, numbers were never the deciding factor in a battle. Miracle Commerce's 30,000 berserkers could wipe out hundreds of thousands of enemies as easily as drinking water. The Warhound's elite forces have been severely consumed over a long period of time, and after several large battles. How could they have any excess left? Not to mention that war was not about military strength, but rather national strength. The Warhound's kingdom had already gone through many hardships, so how could they raise another large expeditionary army? The hundreds of thousands of soldiers in the southern fortress were only relying on the resources and food they had plundered from the southern summer country to survive. In the end, after the several 100,000 elite soldiers surrendered, the Warhound's plains did not have any soldiers or food. In contrast, Chu Tian's subordinates were like clouds, and the forest locals led by Arnold killed several of the prairie's experts. Even in the Eagle Burial Warring Kingdom, he could be considered a first or second-class expert. It was because of this that when Chu Tian attacked Imperial City, Arnold and several dozen people charged forward, but when they returned, they didn't know who the Fong King was. Everyone searched and found that the new Warhound's king had been killed by several dozen people. This pitiful Warhound's king had truly died a useless death. Arnold did not realize that he was a king at all. He just thought he was a king. A wisp of paper curled upwards. The entire imperial region, Song State, and Furnace State had been captured. The Warhound's plains was like a dried-up oil lamp. How could they resist the powerful Southern Summer Army? The Warhound's kingdom, this regime that had been established for less than half a year, had already collapsed. The large tribes of the Warhound's plains had suffered heavy losses. It could be said that they tried to steal a chicken, but ended up losing the rice used to lure it. They would most likely blame each other, and the entire plains would return to their scattered state, with no chance of a comeback. When they returned to the former imperial city of the southern summer country, this city did not have the prosperity of several hundred years. In that incomparably tragic imperial city battle, 2 of the southern summer 3 rulers had died, and over 100,000 soldiers had been bathed in blood. In the end, the city had formed a resistance army of several 100,000. Helplessly, resistance was futile. In the Imperial City battle, a third of the city was destroyed, and the population was reduced by a fifth. After the Warhounds conquered Imperial City, they looted the entire city, taking all the treasures and resources, turning the humans into spirit beast slaves. Anyone who resisted was killed without mercy, and the population was reduced by a fifth. The Warhounds' southern attack had failed, and the entire army had suffered heavy losses, but luckily the previous Fang king had foresight and left the elite demon wolf cavalry in the imperial region. So although the entire army had been destroyed and the Fang king had died, the Warhounds still had enough strength to defend their rear. The Eagle Burial Kingdom urgently sent a new king. Because the warring kingdom was in a tight situation on all four sides, the Eagle Burial Kingdom was fighting at least 8 other countries at the same time, so they did not have any extra strength to attack the small southern summer country. This Warhound's king could not wait for reinforcements, so he could only learn from his predecessor's failure. He decided to prepare for a long battle. The Warhound's king enslaved several million people, opening up fields in the wilderness to provide supplies for the Warhounds. He enslaved several million people to build the southern fortress and repair the destroyed docks to prepare for a long battle. He enslaved several million people to build ships and forge equipment to prepare for the battle in the future. In order to not give the southern summer country a chance to rest, he sent out teams to disturb them. During this process, at least 10 million people were enslaved. They were beaten to death, worked to death, starved to death, escaped to death, and resisted. In short, the remaining population was reduced by half. The war, enslavement, and escaping made almost all the adult males die. As for the females, this was relatively lucky because the spirit beasts had no interest in human women, but their lack of interest did not mean other people had no interest. The Warhound's king prepared more resources and funds, so he ordered his army to capture large amounts of young and beautiful human women and sell them to the northern countries. However, because it was troublesome and took a long time, there weren't many sold, but it still caused quite a bit of population loss. In short, after half a year of war, the people had no way to live. The northern population was less than a fourth of what it used to be. When the old imperial city's scorched black gates were opened, the once bustling streets were filled with collapsed walls. The stench filled the air, and it was a complete mess. There were no adult males to be seen, and the ones that came out were all women, children, and old people. They were all wearing ragged clothes and hugging themselves. How could there be any of the imperial city's noble and proud citizens? They were simply a group of beggars. Our king has finally returned. We knew that the southern summer country would not abandon us. Long live the southern summer country. Long live the southern summer country. Long live the southern summer country. Countless beggars cried out as they gathered on the streets. This scene was very touching. They were once proud citizens of the imperial city, living rich and happy lives, but now they were separated from their families. The southern summer king revealed a look of shame. All of this was because the northern defense was not good, and they finally gave up on the imperial city and the 2 northern states. The southern summer king was the calm martial ruler, the commander of the country's army, and the highest commander on the front lines. Everything becoming like this was a major dereliction of duty on his part. The Warhound's kingdom is destined to be destroyed. The Warhound's plains will no longer be able to cause trouble. The southern summer country will work with miracle commerce to conquer them. Everyone needs to quickly rebuild their homes. The southern summer people quickly comforted the refugees. The Meng sisters, Nangong Yin, Vivian, and the others all revealed pained expressions, especially the emotional Meng Yingying. She did not dare believe that in just half a year, Imperial City had turned into a ghost city. The citizens were all skin and bones from starvation, living like lonely ghosts in the ruins. Was this the cruelty of war? Meng Yingying felt a strong sense of guilt. The northern part of the southern summer country had fallen, and the tens of millions of people were suffering, but she still lived a rich life, almost forgetting about this place. Thinking about it, if this world did not have Chu Tian, perhaps the entire southern summer country would not have been able to escape. How much better would she be compared to these people? Although it was not her responsibility, she still felt a strong sense of guilt. Meng Yingying pulled on Chu Tian's clothes. Let's help them rebuild the city. Chu Tian gave a slight nod. Rebuilding the homeland is easy, but protecting it is hard. We have to take care of the northern side. Only then can we prevent this matter from happening again. Meng Qingwu ordered Vivian to use the space warehouse to bring large amounts of medicine and supplies to the refugees, which could temporarily alleviate the urgent situation. The southern reinforcements would arrive in a few days, so there was no need to worry about this matter. They sat together for a meeting. The contents of this meeting were how to repair the southern summer country, how to deal with the prisoners, and how to clean up the northern prairies. The Warhounds King's strategy was very conservative, but strictly speaking, it was correct. The Warhounds madly enslaved humans to open up land, build forts, ships, and equipment. First, they could accumulate strength, and second, they could wait for the best time. The only thing they didn't expect was that the southern summer country was changing too quickly. Now the Warhounds' kingdom was finished. The southern summer country had captured at least 800,000 spirit beasts in the Imperial region, Song State, and Furnace State, including the 100,000 demon wolf cavalry from the Eagle Burial Kingdom. How to deal with these troops was a headache. According to reason, these were all evil invaders. They should have burned them one by one in the old imperial city to vent the anger of the people and raise their morale. But reason told everyone that this was wrong. 60 to 70% of these captives were elites of the Warhounds Plains, and the rest were sent by the Eagle Burial Kingdom. Now that they had betrayed the Eagle Burial Kingdom, if they could use them, this strength could become a barrier for the southern summer country to defend against the Eagle Burial Kingdom's invasion in the north. Chu Tian once again expressed his opinion. I think that when we return the Warhounds Plains, we can create a puppet regime in the Warhounds Plains, creating a northern militant country. This prairie will be in our hands, and we could be assured forever. Create a puppet regime? The Southern Summer King agreed in his heart, but the possibility of this being carried out was not high. The Warhounds and the Southern Summer Country are old enemies. Is it easy for us to create a puppet regime? Actually, it's not hard. Just leave this matter to miracle commerce. Meng Qingwu began to plan. We have many experts in the forest, whether it is spirit beasts or other races. There are quite a few of them. We can send a few strong spirit beasts to create a colony in the Warhounds Plains. Other than that, the shaman priest Luz, I think he should be very interested in developing his shaman religion on the prairies. Chu Tian's eyes lit up. The Warhounds Plains is simply a natural, fertile land for the shaman religion, and we have seen the shaman sorcerer's methods. With Luz's strength and our miracle commerce's strength, it won't take long for those thorns to be controlled. Whether it is satisfying their hearts or being controlled by goo insects, there are ways to make them kneel at our feet. That's right, we can copy the Eagle Burial Kingdom's method and use their colonial power to rule the Warhounds Plains, using their faith to consolidate their rule. When we completely control the prairies, whether it is the prairies or miracle commerce, we have a way to create a win-win situation. I think that as long as the tribes of the prairies aren't stupid, they will give up on the Eagle Burial Kingdom and join us. The Southern Summer King saw the confidence of the two of them, so he asked in a probing voice, "Are you confident?" Letting several 100,000 elites return to the prairies, the Southern Summer Country would have to bear a large risk. Southern Summer King doesn't need to worry. We just need to choose a suitable Northern Militant King, and the Northern Militant Country will be established in a few months. Chu Tian swept his eyes over the vast prairies. Now that our momentum is at its peak, how about we take back the ancestral land of the Southern Summer Country? We'll change the country's name to Great Summer from now on. With these words, even the calm Southern Summer King revealed a look of excitement. Gu Qinxiu and Yun Tianhe were filled with joy. The Southern Summer Country had always wanted to take back their ancestral land and rebuild the Great Summer Country. This goal was already within reach. Chapter 924. The Great Zhou Country was stronger than the Great Summer Country. This was an undeniable fact. Just the Black Moon sect could gather 100,000 or even 200,000 awakened soul cultivators. If this power was used well, It could destroy the Great Summer Country. The Black Moon sect was just one of the many sects in the Great Zhou Country. It could be imagined that if the Great Zhou Country's army gathered together, perhaps each person would be able to drown Chu Tian and take him back. Not to mention the fact that the three of them were in the Black Moon sect's territory. This was one of the oldest sects in the Great Zhou Country, with all kinds of restrictions, barriers, and arrays. Not only was it hard to attack, it was harder than ascending to the heavens to kill their way out. Chu Tian's inexplicable provocation seemed like an irrational thing to do. Wasn't this no different from seeking death? Actually, it wasn't like this. Chu Tian wasn't afraid of them at all. Even if they took 10,000 steps back and the three of them had city return scrolls, they could just run away if the situation was bad. There was no way to stop spatial scrolls in this era. So what could the Black Moon sect do to them, even if they had more people? Chu Tian didn't have the time to slowly bargain with them. The Black Moon sect was a sect filled with demonic cultivators. Although they weren't evil, as long as they were demonic cultivators, they would follow the law of the jungle. Moreover, verbal promises and oaths had no meaning. Chu Tian didn't want to waste his saliva and knowledge. It was better to use absolute strength to make them yield. So what if the Black Moon sect was strong? The Great Zhou Country was strong in terms of comprehensive strength, resources, army, and economy. If it was just in terms of experts, the Black Moon sect couldn't even compare to Miracle City. Was this Chu Tian style to be so fearful like this? No matter what, Chu Tian had successfully enraged Yang Miao. His hands came together, and his body began to melt, turning into a human-shaped jelly. Large droplets of water floated out of his body, and each droplet floated in the air. Yang Miao's hands suddenly pushed forward. Several dozen droplets of water shot out at Chu Tian. Dead water seal. This was one of the Black Moon sect's secret techniques. Yang Miao clearly had a rare elemental source spirit, and his source spirit was water. Combining it with the Yin water demonic technique to display this secret technique, each droplet of water had a strong penetrative power. The most vicious part was that it could easily corrode protective spirit energy, and most protective cultivation techniques would be ineffective. Moreover, it contained a strong poison, killing anyone who touched it. You've hit the wrong person. Your opponent is me. Meng Yingying's body was covered in starlight. Under the intense collision of the electromagnetic light, she was like a bolt of lightning blocking Chu Tian. Several dozen droplets of water fell onto Meng Yingying's petite and beautiful body. When these jet black droplets hit Meng Yingying's body, it was like droplets of water falling onto a burning hot iron pot. There was a sizzling sound as steam rose up, almost instantly evaporating. No effect. Yang Miao's face slightly changed. This girl had a cultivation in the first true spirit layer at such a young age. This was very shocking. At least in the Black Moon sect, there had never been a 16-year-old who had a true spirit cultivation. Even in the history of the Great Zhou Country, there weren't many. A trivial little country's girl. How could she have this kind of ability? The most incredible thing was an unheard of defensive cultivation technique. Not only did it have a strong defense, it could also resist the corrosion of darkness and curses, making the dead water seal ineffective. The Great Zhou Country was a country filled with sects, with countless ancient inheritances and cultivation techniques. But they had never heard of this kind of cultivation technique before. Yang Miao used all his strength, and his body became even more blurry. Countless streams of black steam were released, instantly swallowing Meng Yingying like a giant beast. So what if her defense was strong? This move could turn her cultivation into water mist, and this water mist was everywhere. From the pores, from the nose, from the ears, it could enter any part of the body. Even if a trace entered the body, it was enough to kill a first true spirit layer cultivator. Meng Yingying's cultivation was high, but she clearly didn't have enough battle experience. She was a bit stunned when she faced the attack, and in that moment, she was completely surrounded by the black water mist. She even accidentally breathed in a few mouthfuls, so she was dead for sure. Yang Miao's Yin water demonic technique was not for nothing. If it was a normal true spirit cultivator they would have lost their battle strength even if they didn't die. But when the starlight immortal body reached the sacred light body realm, the power released came from the inside. It was not just the surface of the body. Each muscle, meridians, and even internal organs were all covered by the sacred light body's power. So even if Meng Yingying made this mistake, she would not be injured at all, only being slowed for a few seconds. Profound large hand seal. This time Yang Miao used a high-grade secret technique of the Black Moon sect. Endless wild energy came out of his body, condensing into a giant palm that slammed at Meng Yingying. Yang Miao used his full strength in this attack, not holding anything back at all. The profound large hand seal was one of Yang Miao's strongest killing moves. Meng Yingying finally felt a sense of crisis. Her reaction and movements were very slow, and this time she finally released her mirror source spirit. Before she could make the next move, the powerful giant handprint heavily bombarded her body. Die! Yang Miao did not have any protective feelings for the fairer sex, as he angrily roared out with all his strength, wanting to crush this young girl to pieces. The moment the large hand seal slammed into the other side, Yang Miao felt like a giant wave slamming into a diamond. He couldn't shake it at all, and the terrifying power was reflected back at him. The starlight immortal body had the ability to reflect damage. Meng Yingying's mirror source spirit also had the ability to reflect damage. When Meng Yingying received this attack, she immediately activated the starlight immortal body, returning most of the power to Yang Miao. Yang Miao's large hand shattered inch by inch, turning into countless drops of water that fell onto her body. The ground, pillars, walls, and ceiling behind her were all filled with holes. Meng Yingying counterattacked for the first time. A normal cultivator would have been killed by the reflected power. Yang Miao received a strong backlash, but Yang Miao's cultivation technique was very special. The water demonic technique in the perfection realm made his body turn into elemental essences. When the reflected power hit his body, it was all absorbed by his half-liquefied body, so it didn't cause any damage. Even like this, Yingying's strength was enough to make others look at her in a different light. Chu Tian said from his side, the first move. Meng Yingying's brows knit together as the starlight around her body collided. Her figure turned into a bolt of lightning as she charged out. Her flawless right arm swept out, and she actually sent out an incomparably sharp starlight blade. Yang Miao still hadn't stabilized himself. This close distance, this fast speed, and this kind of attack, he had no way of dodging. He could only condense a water shield in front of him. The starlight blade pierced through the water shield and directly into Yang Miao's body. Did she kill him? Meng Yingying had just sent out this thought when Yang Miao retreated. There was indeed a large hole in his chest, but the black water quickly surged out. In just a short moment, it was as good as new, not leaving a single mark. With a water source spirit and a strange cultivation technique, it can nullify all attacks. Even if Meng Yingying didn't have any battle experience, she could still see through this trick. This is a bit hard to deal with. His cultivation base is higher than mine. It won't be easy to break through it. Chu Tian reminded the second move. Meng Yingying used all her spirit energy, and the mirror source spirit floating behind her suddenly had the image of a fire phoenix appear. That raging flame came out of the mirror and instantly surrounded Meng Yingying's body. Fire phoenix? The Black Moon sect people were shocked. This was the legendary God-level source spirit. Meng Yingying's fire phoenix was a fake, although it couldn't compare to Nangong Yun. The mirror fire phoenix still had the power of a fire phoenix. Meng Yingying used half of the source spirit in her body and used all her strength to gather this strong flame energy. The flames around Meng Yingying became stronger and stronger, and the outline of a giant, undying bird appeared around her. Chu Tian was a bit stunned. Great Nirvana scripture? Not only did Meng Yingying copy Nangong Yun's source spirit, she even wanted to copy Nangong Yun's main cultivation technique. Of course, this was impossible. At least with Meng Yingying's current strength, she could only copy a bit of it. Even so, it was still very strong. A little girl in her teens could force one of the highest-ranking elders of the Black Moon sect to this point. Yang Miao was filled with anger and shock. His hands formed several seals, and large amounts of black water came out of his body. His body quickly swelled up, and in the blink of an eye, he turned into a 3-meter-tall black water demon, and his aura doubled. Profound En Large Hand Seal. Yang Miao pushed the En Water demonic technique to its peak, turning himself into a black water demon. Then he used his secret technique and wildly attacked Meng Yingying. This was already the strongest attack he could make. Heaven-burning fist. Meng Yingying had already released most of her strength. The mirror source spirit continued to provide energy behind her, and her entire body was covered in a hazy phoenix. The two of them fiercely collided. Fire against water, light against darkness. In that instant, water vapor filled the entire main hall. This water vapor was caused by Yang Miao's spirit energy evaporating, and it contained the En Water demonic technique's poison. The elders and disciples all ran away, afraid of being caught in the crossfire. Yang Miao's protective water demon technique was evaporated by the fire phoenix's power. Meng Yingying's fist landed solidly on his body. Even though it was very close, it still broke through his protective magic power. Yang Miao was like a puppet with its strings cut, instantly breaking 6 or 7 pillars, finally falling heavily into the corner of the wall. Yang Miao spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted on the spot. Meng Yingying's little face was a bit pale, probably because she had used up too much energy. It really was dangerous. Yang Miao was actually a bit stronger than her, but the Starlight immortal body could restrain him, so Meng Yingying didn't have any worries when she attacked. Yang Miao had to use a part of his cultivation to protect his body, but he was suppressed by the Fire Phoenix's power, so he was directly defeated by Meng Yingying. But Meng Yingying did it. In just 3 moves, he had defeated a cultivator of a higher level. Humph! The Black Moon sect's vice sect master, Endless Yin's face sunk, daring to insult my Black Moon sect. For protectors, take them down. The 4 protectors made their moves. Wind, fire, water, and earth. The 4 of them had different source spirits, but none of them were weaker than Yang Miao. With the 4 of them attacking at the same time, their strength surpassed one's imagination. Chu Tian shook his head with a look of disdain. You can't beat me one-on-one, so you're using numbers to suppress me? The main hall was filled with a bone-chilling cold. Before the 4 protectors attacked, there was a blizzard that appeared out of nowhere. Endless Yin was shocked to find that the black-clothed woman beside Chu Tian had made a move. This woman had always been quiet and low-key, but when she made a move, she was actually this strong. Perhaps she was several times stronger than that girl. Seeing a ghost. When did this little southern summer country have this many experts? Chapter 925. Establishing a northern militant country puppet regime on the Warhound's Plains was not a spur-of-the-moment decision. It was a strategic decision made by Miracle City. Whether it was Chu Tian or Meng Qingwu, they both recognized a problem. Miracle Commerce was an external power, so it was not an easy matter for them to expand in the Forest of Chaos. The Forest of Chaos looked like an endless civilized wilderness on the surface, but this seemingly barren wasteland was actually very complicated. The entire Forest of Chaos was filled with large forces. Miracle City was a subordinate force of the Eternal Forest in name, but they didn't have enough support from the Eternal Forest. Perhaps they couldn't feel it at the start, but before long, the resistance from all sides and the covetous eyes of the various forces would arrive. It wasn't hard to foresee that Miracle City would be hindered in the future, not to mention expanding their territory to attack cities. Even if they built factories, military camps, and large amounts of mining, they would still attract the jealousy of others. Now they could use this chance to release a portion of their strength and resources, sending them to the outside world to establish a colonial power. Using Miracle Commerce's superiority in transportation, they wouldn't be restricted by space even if they were thousands of miles away, allowing them to invest and expand. The northern militant country puppet regime had a large significance. This would be an independent kingdom under Miracle Commerce's control. Meng Qingwu had studied the northern plains of the southern summer country. This plains was very large, including the Imperial Region Plains, Song State Plains, and the Warhounds Plains. Moreover, it extended in all directions, covering an area of several tens of millions of square kilometers. It was like the borders of 4-5 kingdoms, so the natural foundation was not bad. It was just that the native spirit beasts were too stupid. The Warhounds Plains occupied 60% of the plains. It was tens of thousands of miles long and had smooth terrain without any natural barriers. In the future, it could become the center of a region. The Warhounds Plains was not a barren land. There were tens of millions of spirit beasts and hundreds of thousands of miles of fertile land. Whether it was the population, soil, or resources, they all had a large amount of value. It was just that the stupid spirit beasts didn't know how to develop it. Once the puppet regime of the Warhounds Plains was established, the southern summer country would also give them a large amount of support because the north was stable and prosperous. The resources could be mined and shared, which was in line with the great summer country's core interests. If the north and south were connected like this, they would not lose to the warring kingdoms in the future. This matter was happily decided like this. Chu Tian made the decision on the spot. Dongfang Howren, you will be stationed in the Warhounds Plains front lines and stabilize the Warhounds Plains. Luz will bring the shaman priests to the Warhounds Plains to spread the shaman religion. Arnold, you can think of a way to win over the Warhounds Plains. This land is large and fertile, so how much territory and population you can steal will all depend on your own skills. Everyone was very excited, especially the orc Luz. Luz was the chief priest of Miracle City's shaman religion, so he knew that the Warhounds Plains was suitable for establishing the shaman religion. The large Warhounds tribes were poor, and now they were facing a bitter defeat, so it was the best time for a religion to invade. As long as Miracle Commerce provided material support, the orthodox shaman religion would definitely spread in this land. Only Luz was a bit worried. He hesitantly said, "Sir City Lord, although the plains are good, it is too far from the forest. Although the transport tower can take us to Central State, it will take several days to go from Central State to the Warhounds Plains. I'm afraid we won't have enough manpower." How could this city lord not think of this problem? You can be assured I won't be idle. From Central State to the Warhounds Plains, the distance is a bit big. For efficiency, I will build a transport tower in the northern militant country as soon as possible. In the future, when the northern militant country transport tower connects to Miracle City's transport tower, you can go back and forth at any time. The tribe chiefs were all overjoyed. This was truly a large piece of good news. If the plains had a transport tower, what difference was there from Miracle City's back garden? Miracle City's people could come and go as they pleased. There was no need to worry about managing them like this. These tribal chiefs could freely recruit soldiers and buy horses in this region to establish their power. Everyone excitedly received their orders and left. The Warhounds Plains has a transport tower, so will naturally be more convenient. Meng Qingwu asked with knit brows, "But we really can't take out the materials to build a transport tower." This was also the problem that gave Chu Tian a headache. They had the Eye of the Star as the core material for the transport tower. But the spatial crystals were not enough to use at all. The known materials had already been used up by Chu Tian. How could this kind of rare material be easily obtained? There was no other choice. They could only search and do their best to search. Chu Tian said, "We'll split up and search. The young miss will be in charge of purchasing materials in the forest, and I'll go to the north and other regions, going to the markets of the surrounding large countries. I think there will be some harvests. We'll also use this chance to open up several markets for Miracle Commerce and inquire about the situation of the nearby kingdoms." The northern militant country's regime could not be established overnight. Miracle Commerce did not lack money and resources. It was only a matter of time. Meng Qingwu brought people back to Miracle City. There were still many things to do in Miracle City, and they couldn't be without a leader for a long time. She was in a rush to deploy Smart Brain and established the city's intelligent management center and system. Chu Tian was very bored staying in the forest for several months. Using the excuse of purchasing materials and establishing the northern militant country's regime, he planned to take a look around the nearby countries, so he was not in a rush to return. Nangong, Vivian, and the others all had missions, so although they wanted to follow Chu Tian, they couldn't leave right now. They could only obediently follow the young miss back to the city. After a week, the Southern Summer King, Dongfang Gan, announced in the old imperial city that he would change the country's name to Great Summer. The north was heavily damaged, and for the development of the kingdom, the Great Summer country made Central State City the new imperial capital. Furnace State and Tsang State remained the same, but the imperial region and the lost lands of the north were divided into 7 new states. The Great Xia Kingdom didn't have the intention to continue expanding to the north. They expanded to the south, west, and east. They occupied more desolate lands and established 3 more prefectures. The Great Xia Kingdom had a total of 16 prefectures and counties, which was more than double the original size. In terms of land area, the Great Xia Kingdom was already a large kingdom in name and in reality. The Great Summer King once again created marquises. The 3 southern and 3 northern states were all ruled by people who held important positions in miracle commerce and had a high status in the Great Summer Country. For example, Dongfang Haoran, Gu Qinxiu, Yin Tianhe, the Nangong family, and the Shangwan family. These 6 areas were designated as special administrative areas by the Great Summer Country. They were developed and managed by Miracle Commerce and the Great Summer Country, supporting Miracle Commerce's factories, cities, and army training camps. They didn't collect any taxes at all. Other than that, the country guarding ruler Chu Tian was given the title of Great Summer Country Scholar, and the Cloud Dream ruler Meng Qinwu was given the position of Great Summer Foreign Minister. Dongfang Gan was very clear that the Great Summer Country's prosperity couldn't be separated from Miracle Commerce, and Miracle Commerce needed the Great Summer Country. The 2 of them were mutually beneficial to achieve a win-win situation. What's there to be concerned about with the addition of a few empty titles? Chu Tian had already said that even if the Southern Summer King's throne was given to him, he wouldn't be interested, not to mention this kind of empty title. When the Great Summer Country was holding the title ceremony and the National Day ceremony, he didn't even attend. At this time, Chu Tian was leading a large and small beauty, galloping into the depths of the prairies. This was a business trip, so Chu Tian wasn't in a rush to finish his mission. He immediately brought Meng Yingying to have fun on the prairies. Meng Yingying was very happy playing. The scenery of the prairies was completely different. In this week, she had visited various ancient ruins and mixed into the nomadic tribes. She had seen the magnificent scene of 10,000 horses galloping. There were no external enemies or internal threats. With Chu Tian by her side, camping together and playing together, this was simply one of the happiest moments of her life. On this day, the sun was setting in the west. Chu Tian and Meng Yingying were tired from playing, so the 2 of them sat on a ball of grass to watch the sunset. The fiery red sunset dyed the entire sky red, and the prairie was also illuminated in a beautiful golden red color. This boundless and boundless grassland was truly enchanting and pleasing to the eye. Meng Yingying hugged her knees with both hands. The sunset dyed her snow-white, jade-like face red. She said in a casual tone, "Hey, Chu Tian, we've known each other for more than a year. Haven't you always forgotten to say something to me?" "Say what?" "You know in your heart." Meng Yingying fiercely glared at him. "Humph, I'm telling you, you can't just leave this matter hanging. I'm almost an adult. If you don't make a move, I won't wait for you." Chu Tian pretended to be stupid. "Yingying, what do you want to say? Why can't I understand a single thing?" The happiness that Meng Yingying had accumulated over the past few days was suddenly destroyed by this hateful guy. She had already said it so clearly, yet this guy still pretended to be stupid. She angrily snorted and stood up to leave. "Just you wait to regret it. I'm ignoring you." Chu Tian laughed out loud. As soon as she turned around, he immediately reached out and hugged her slender waist. You, you pervert. Meng Yingying's face suddenly turned as red as an apple. She symbolically struggled a few times and then half pushed and half leaned into his embrace. You bullied me. I'll go back and tell elder sister. Yingying, you're right. Some things can't be dilly-dallied. Chu Tian completely ignored Meng Yingying's threat. He closed his eyes and carefully sniffed the fragrance coming from the girl's hair. Let's get married. Meng Yingying felt her mind go blank with a bang. What is this bastard thinking in his head? The two of them haven't even officially started dating yet. Yet he directly skipped this step. This guy's way of thinking is really hard to accept. Meng Yingying found that she could never keep up with this bastard's thinking. You don't want to? Chu Tian let go of her, shrugged and said, Then forget it. No, I didn't say I don't want to. Don't misunderstand. Meng Yingying hurriedly shouted, but then felt that it was a bit inappropriate. It's just a bit too rushed. Also, what about elder sister and the others? It was a bit inappropriate to mention this at this time. Chu Tian's brows immediately knit together. Although there were many beauties by his side, and they were all very outstanding, in comparison, Yingying was the one he met the earliest, so their feelings were the purest. The young miss was a great beauty with peerless style. It was impossible for any normal man not to be moved. Chu Tian's time with the young miss, communication, and feelings were not less than Yingying's, but it was more of a cooperative relationship between colleagues and friends, so it was not as natural and sincere as when he was with Yingying. Chu Tian couldn't say who was better, but he felt the most comfortable with Yingying. Humph, I'm not blind. This problem can't be avoided. Elder sister will definitely like you. Meng Yingying indignantly said, There's also Nangong, Vivian, and the others. Even if they don't have that kind of feeling for you, they still worship you, so most of them don't have the ability to resist you. I really don't know what's so good about you. You have so many problems, but you can still seduce so many women. He really couldn't see it. This little lass was quite perceptive. Chu Tian helplessly said, It's my fault that my charm is too high. I'm actually very low-key. I swear to the heavens, I've never taken the initiative to seduce anyone. Meng Yingying gave an unhappy snort. The continent did not have a rigid monogamy system. No matter if it was a man or woman, as long as they were outstanding enough, it wasn't strange for them to have multiple partners. It was even a common matter. Yingying admitted that she was a bit narrow-minded, but she was not a stingy person. What made her confused and annoyed was her inferiority complex. That's right, it was inferiority complex. This inferiority complex did not only come from Chu Tian's excellence. It made her feel that her birth was ordinary and her talent was mediocre. It also came from a series of strong competitors. Elder sister, Nangong, Vivian, each one of them was outstanding. They had strong abilities, good talent, and high birth. These people had a good relationship with her. She did not reject them, but there was a sense of crisis in the depths of her heart. She felt that she was inferior to any one of them. It was because of this that the lazy and playful Yingying had changed over the past year. She did her best to stay up late to study, working hard, inventing the canned food, helping with the space warehouse, creating the spiritual illusion, and etc. Yingying was different from her elder sister, Meng Qinwu. She did not have any ambitions or ambitions. She just wanted to chase after others. Silly girl, there really is a problem with your brain. Why are you thinking about all these random things? Chu Tian could feel the girl's complex and contradictory feelings. He revealed a faint smile and used his hand to support her beautiful face. The Yingying I like will always be unique. No one can compare to you. After saying this, he slightly lowered his head and kissed the girl's tender lips. Chapter 926. The moment Chun Bingyu flew into the air, the spirit energy in her body poured out, turning into a large snowstorm that swept through the palace. The temperature dropped by several dozen degrees, making everyone feel like they were in the extreme cold. If these bystanders had such a strong feeling, then the pressure on the four great protectors, who were the targets of the attack, could be imagined. Tens of thousands of crystal-clear snowflakes released a glow, just like a rain of flowers falling from a pear garden. It was beautiful, but it also contained a strong sense of danger. Each snowflake was condensed from Chun Bingyu's source spirit. It was strong enough to freeze the spirit energy in the opponent's body, making them lose their battle strength. The four protectors were blocked in a single move, so they had no choice but to temporarily avoid the power of the snowstorm. Chun Bingyu's alluring body shot out from the snowflakes, and the snowflakes seemed to be attracted by a magnet. They immediately condensed into two beautiful and exquisite snow dragons beside Chun Bingyu, which attacked the four protectors with two palms. This silent, low-key, and unobtrusive woman really amazed the world with a single brilliant feat. Chun Bingyu also had the sacred light body, but her cultivation base was even deeper. Now that she was in the second true spirit layer, she was different from Meng Yingying, who only knew how to imitate. She was a genius with shocking battle talent. Her source spirit and talent were not below Central State's Chu Xinghe. The four protectors were not easy to deal with. Originally, they wanted to temporarily avoid the momentum, but they did not expect Shun Bing to be so strong. The four of them immediately struck out, and the two interweaving snow dragons were instantly blown to pieces, once again turning into snowflakes that filled the sky. The snowflakes were like a mountain of blades. Her figure moved like lightning. Chun Bingyu used 5-6 secret techniques in half a blink of an eye, exchanging blows with the four protectors of wind, fire, water, and earth. She charged forward with the power of the snowflakes, sending out a palm to each of them, forcing the four protectors back a step. Good. Meng Yingying couldn't help shouting, "Big Sister Bing is strong." Did this even need to be said? Among the people Chu Tian trained, Nangong Yun's battle talent was the highest. With a god-level source spirit and a supreme cultivation technique, it would be hard for Chu Tian to defeat her in the same realm without using his main source spirit. Next was Chun Bingyu and Dongfang Haoren. Chun Bingyu and Nangong Yun were both martial artists, but the difference between the two of them was that Nangong Yun worshipped pure martial arts, so she was a fighter and a destroyer. Chun Bingyu's goal was higher than Nangong Yun's. She pursued the true meaning of martial arts, treating martial arts as an art, not completely addicted to fighting and might. During Chun Bingyu's time in Miracle Commerce, she had listened to all of the Qilin Hall's lessons and had used Miracle Commerce's channels to collect large amounts of cultivation techniques and secret techniques. Every day, she would try to understand the various cultivation techniques and martial arts. Chun Bingyu's future battle strength could not compare to Nangong Yun's, but her attainments in martial arts were not something Nangong Yun could compare to. It could be seen from Chun Bingyu's moves. Chun Bingyu's moves were ever-changing, and she could instantly use 4 or 5 different martial arts and cultivation techniques. It could be said that she had already absorbed Chu Tian's advanced knowledge and used it as a foundation to gather all the cultivation techniques and martial arts. Such a high comprehension. The 4 Black Moon Protectors never thought that their joint attack would be blocked by a normal girl, and they immediately flew into a rage out of shame. "What are you 4 doing?" Use the 4 phase array. The 4 protectors were clearly excited. Their individual strengths were not inferior to Yang Miao's by much, not to mention the fact that the 4 Black Moon Protectors were inseparable. Although their cultivation techniques were different, they could perfectly combine, achieving a 1+1 greater than 2 effect. Most third True Spirit Layer experts were not their match. In this kind of 4 against 1 situation, how could they be afraid of a trivial female? The other elders and the 4 protectors knew how strong they were, so they didn't interfere. After all, the people here were all famous Great Zhou experts, and it wasn't a good reputation to bully someone with numbers. The 4 protectors gave up on Chu Tian and Meng Yingying because the 4 protectors could see that Chun Bingyu had the highest cultivation out of the 3 of them. They would kill the person with the highest cultivation first, and then they wouldn't have to worry about the others. One was covered in dark blue wind. One was covered in purple-red flames. One was covered in ash-black in water. One was covered in dark golden rock. The 4 of them suddenly moved as fast as ghosts, leaving behind countless afterimages. for colored beams of light interweaved, and an array filled with a strange aura appeared. Chun Bingyu was trapped in this array, and the four protectors each took a position. My sect's four protectors are four twin brothers, born as one. Their minds are connected and their innate talents are different, but they can help each other. The cultivation techniques they cultivate come from the same source, so the four of them are one, making their battle strength even stronger. Endless Een saw that the array was complete and immediately relaxed. This trivial, nameless person wants to break the four protectors. The four protectors all had rare, elemental source spirits. This kind of source spirit was very hard to deal with, not to mention the seamless four-elemental array. Chun Bingyu felt her strength being suppressed. The blizzard that was raging in the main hall was actually unable to break through the suppression of this array. The Black Moon sect really does have some skills, Meng Yingying indignantly said. They are bullying us with numbers. I'm afraid Elder Sister Bingyu will suffer a loss. Don't be anxious. Chu Tian had indeed underestimated the Black Moon sect's strength. Chun Bingyu's strength was enough to fight four people of the same level, but the coordination between the four protectors was too perfect. It wasn't as simple as just adding up their numbers. But even like this, he was not in a rush to make a move because Chu Tian could vaguely feel that Chun Bingyu was hiding some other strength. Big Sister Bing won't be easily defeated. Chun Bingyu's spirit energy turned into a blizzard that was biting cold, but she was still trapped in the center of the main hall. No matter how fierce she was, she couldn't break through the four protectors' defenses. The four protectors had already begun to attack and suppress Chun Bingyu, but with the starlight immortal body and her powerful strength, she was fine for a while. This situation was very bad. 1 against 4 was consuming several times more spirit energy than the four protectors. If this continued, she would most likely lose because her spirit energy couldn't support it. At this time, the Wind Protector sent out a sharp wind blade. When Chun Bingyu dodged to the side, her black veil was lifted by the wind blade, revealing a cold and beautiful mature face. Chun Bingyu was already over 30 years old, but she looked like she was in her 20s. For her to have this kind of cultivation at her age, she could be considered a genius in the Great Zhou country. Endless Een sat on the high throne and said, "You have some skill. If you're willing to serve the Black Moon sect, this one will spare your lives." Humph! Chun Bingyu's eyes revealed a trace of anger. Countless snowflakes began to spin at high speeds, forming an incomparably large ice lotus. Countless flames, water bullets, wind blades, and earth spikes attacked, but before they could even land on Chun Bingyu, they were frozen and lost their power. Chun Bingyu formed a seal with her hands. A white and blue mark appeared between her brows. At this time, a power that seemed to have been sealed in her body suddenly surged out from Chun Bingyu's body. It made her spirit energy increase in a short period of time, gradually surpassing the strength of the second true spirit realm. What was going on? What was even stranger was that Chun Bingyu's originally jet black hair suddenly turned silver white at a speed visible to the naked eye. Chu Tian was also shocked. Bloodline power? Sister Bing has bloodline power. She's been by my side for so long, and I didn't even notice. What a fucking failure. Bloodline power was a kind of power that came from the ancestors and bloodline. The Nangong family of the southern summer country believed in the immortal bird. Perhaps their ancestors were related to the immortal bird, so they passed on their power to their descendants. However, bloodline power had been passed down from ancient times until today. It would be buried for a long time, and the longer it was, the deeper it would be buried, to the point where it was basically impossible to awaken. Not only did Chun Bingyu possess the power of a bloodline, but she was also able to activate this ancient power. With the support of this power, Chun Bingyu's strength would skyrocket by several times. Ice River descends. The mark between Chun Bingyu's eyebrows released an even stronger light, and her slender white hands were already covered in blue ice flames. She pressed her hands into the air, and large pieces of ice were released in all directions. It gave people a feeling like the air had been frozen and the entire space had been sealed. Retreat. Chu Tian pulled Meng, Ying with him as he teleported several hundred meters away. The place he was just in was instantly frozen. This ice was condensed from spirit energy, so there was no need to condense water into ice at all. Most of the space in the store was sealed, and the elders that couldn't escape in time, including the Flame Ghost and Ice Demon Brothers, were all sealed by the terrifying ice. These people did not die. They were sealed. The four protectors wanted to escape, but it was already too late. The countless pieces of crystal like ice did not give them any chance. That terrified posture and the terrified expression in their eyes were perfectly preserved. Meng Ying looked at the hall, and her mouth opened so wide that an apple could fit in. So powerful. A single move filled most of the hall with ice. You. The Black Moon Sect's Vice Sect Master, Endless Yin's expression was not filled with shock and anger. He looked at Chun Bingyu in disbelief. You're the great Zhou royal princess that disappeared 18 years ago. You never expected it. Chun Bingyu's silver-white hair danced in the wind, but her eyes were still as cold as before. The great Zhou royal family was slaughtered, and the last fish that escaped the net was able to live until today. Good. You didn't die 18 years ago, but you came to our door today. Endless Yin gave an angry roar and soared into the sky. He gathered endless demonic chi into a palm that shot out at Chun Bingyu. I'll kill you now. Pung. Endless Yin had a cultivation in the third true spirit layer. Chun Bingyu did not have the strength to resist and was sent flying by the palm. Luckily, Chun Bingyu did not have much spirit energy left, but she could still maintain the starlight immortal body, so this attack only caused a light injury to her. Stupid, truly stupid. It was hard for you to escape Great Zhou, and you had a fortuitous encounter, but you're in a rush to die in Great Zhou. Endless Yin stepped in the air, with ghostly chi surrounding him. Since it's like this, I can't let you live. Endless Yin raised his hands high up, and a deep blue ghost head blade condensed. Dang! The blade and sword collided. Chu Tian appeared in front of Chun Bingyu and raised the Netherworld sword to block this attack. When he was pushed back by Endless Yin's blade, he grabbed the injured Chun Bingyu and quickly moved to Ying's side. Are you all right? There's a trace of blood on the corner of Chun Bingyu's lips, and her eyes slightly trembled. I'm all right. Thank you. You're still a princess. I really was blind. Don't make fun of me. Chun Bingyu's eyes revealed a trace of bitterness. Chu Tian knew that Chun Bingyu's background was not normal, but now was not the time to ask about it. Leave Big Sister Bingyu to me. Meng Ying used her movement technique to charge forward. The cultivators outside are about to kill their way in. There's so many of them, and we can't beat them, so we can only run away. Run away? Are you stupid? Chu Tian gave a laugh. Haven't you noticed? The Black Moon Sect's elders and protectors are all hostages in our hands. We have the advantage. Do we need to run? Take care of Big Sister Bingyu. I'll beat this fellow up first. Chu Tian handed Chun Bingyu to Meng Ying. His feet stepped off the ground, and he flew into the air with his sword. When he reached the same height as Endless Yin, he circulated his spirit energy and said with a laugh, "Huh. The Great Zhou Black Moon Sect is only this strong. Your elders and protectors can't even take a single hit. I'll have to experience the Vice Sect Master's strength." After saying this, Chu Tian instantly disappeared, and a resplendent sword glow slashed at Endless Yin. This young cultivator from the southern summer country actually took the initiative to attack the Black Moon Sect of the 6 Great Zhou countries. So bold. Endless Yin gave an angry laugh. You're the first to challenge this one, with a cultivation in the first true spirit layer. Chapter 927. Meng Ying was slightly dazed for a few seconds. Her blurred vision became hazy, but she did not resist. She slowly closed her eyes. Tears of joy flowed out from the corner of her eyes. It was strange. Before Meng Ying met Chu Tian, she could not understand the concept of love. Ever since Chu Tian appeared in her life, her heart was almost immediately occupied by him. This was the first time she had fallen in love with someone. Could this be the so-called love at first sight? This guy was obviously bad and often deliberately made her angry. She just did not know why, but her life could not escape from a shadow, no matter the time or situation. As long as she followed Chu Tian, she would feel very happy and satisfied. Whether it was eating, sleeping, or even breathing, she would think of him. She felt as if there was an invisible string connected to him. No matter where she went, she would not be able to get rid of her longing. If she did not see him for a day, she would feel very empty. Meng Yingying knew in her heart that Chu Tian had a good impression of her, but she did not have much confidence in herself. Now that this moment had come too suddenly, Meng Ying was at a loss. She did not know how to react at this time. Forget it, I'll just smash the can. Kuh! A light cough. Chun Bingyu appeared on the small hill like a ghost. Although her face was covered so that her expression could not be seen, her eyes were still staring at the two people. Her eyes were filled with a complex and strange color. She immediately said in her usual indifferent tone, "I'm really sorry to disturb you." Meng Yingying jumped up like a frightened rabbit. "Sister Bingyu, it's not like this, it's all his fault. Fuck. This woman who appears and disappears like a ghost actually ruined my good deed. Can you not be so exaggerated? We are in a proper relationship. It's not like we are cheating." Chu Tian casually pulled her over. "Sister Bing, you came at the right time. I have already decided on a date to marry Yingying. Shouldn't you celebrate?" Chun Bingyu's expression did not change. "I really have to congratulate you." Meng Yingying was not happy. Her hands were on her hips as she shouted, Hey, you pervert, did I agree? You're just talking nonsense." "What? After all this time you don't agree?" "I didn't say I didn't agree, and I just think we are not that old. This is not urgent." "No, it's not that we are not urgent. It's just that..." Meng Yingying's speech was somewhat incoherent. Her face became redder as she spoke. Finally, she lowered her head and muttered, "We have to pick a suitable time and opportunity. This kind of abrupt behavior is not good. Who would say they want to get married as soon as they arrive?" "You are really annoying." Chu Tian laughed, wanting to tease her a bit more. "I think this kind of thing should be discussed in private." Chun Bingyu seemed like she did not want to watch anymore. Luz has made some progress. He needs to take some time out of his busy schedule to solve it. Meng Yingying seemed to have finally found a chance to escape. She quickly seized this opportunity to ask, "What happened? Isn't Luz preparing to establish the shaman religion in the grasslands? How did he encounter trouble?" Chun Bingyu replied, "There are several large nomadic tribes in the western part of the grasslands that have collapsed, most likely because of the war with the southern summer country. Adding in the beast plague that has caused a large number of domesticated beasts to die, the entire tribe has collapsed, forming a large number of refugees. Luz hopes to absorb them and establish his influence." Understood. The Warhound's plains had always been empty due to internal strife, and they had been fighting with the southern summer country for over half a year. The large tribes were suffering, and there were many people who did not have food to eat. It was because the Warhound tribe was in a difficult situation that Chu Tian had the chance to occupy this area. The collapse of several tribes had formed a large number of refugees. Wasn't this a good time for the church to spread their teachings? Luz hoped that Chu Tian could use Miracle Commerce's space warehouse to transport enough food to help these refugees. "Let's dress up properly before we go." Chu Tian's name did not resound in a Barbara place like the Warhounds, but Chu Tian and Meng Yingying were humans in the end. The Warhounds and humans had been enemies for thousands of years, so if they interfered as humans, it would not be good for them. After half a day, the three of them found Luz. The disguise of the three of them was not complicated. They just put on a large and bulky robe and put on masks and gloves, not revealing any part of their bodies. Finally, they used some kind of medicine to change their human scent. Luz respectfully cupped his hands to Chu Tian, "Sir City Lord." Chu Tian sized up the surrounding situation. Other than Luz leading the shaman priests, there were several forest chiefs maintaining order. There were around 40-50,000 refugees gathered here. This scale was enough to form a medium to large tribe on the Warhound's plains. From the current situation, this number could still increase. All of these people were sick, starving, and emaciated to the point of being skin and bones. They didn't seem like vicious plunderers at all. They were simply a group of homeless stray dogs. The shaman god will guide any beast spirit that has lost its way. Now, let me see the pain you will all suffer. Chu Tian's voice was hoarse and deep, like he had used a voice-changing technique. He first imitated the shaman and faced the tens of thousands of warhounds refugees filled with longing. He spoke a lot of comforting words in the spirit beast language and then began to examine their bodies. In addition to starvation, these people were also suffering from serious diseases. This was a very malignant parasitic disease. Once it entered the host's body, it would wildly multiply. It would first build a nest in the stomach, then it would invade the internal organs, and finally it would enter the bloodstream. It would wildly absorb spirit energy and energy, finally torturing the host to death. Moreover, contact was very contagious. One person would fall sick, and the people they came into contact with would not be able to escape. There was no cure in the warhound's plains. Defeat, famine, and an infectious disease. These grandsons were truly unlucky. Chu Tian pretended to be mysterious and said a few prayers to the shaman god before leaving this place to make his preparations. What do we do? I think their illnesses aren't light. Meng Yingying lifted her hood and immediately asked, "We have several large warehouses in Central State with canned food. I'll contact someone to send it over." "No, we won't use canned food this time." Chu Tian wrote down several recipes and a list. "Send these to the Central State Laboratory and have them refine the medicine according to the recipe above." Meng Yingying did not understand alchemy, but Yingying had made quite a bit of progress in the past year. She found that these were all very cheap herbs, but since Chu Tian did not say anything, this matter should be easily taken care of. She immediately took out the communication device to contact Central State and had them quickly take care of it. 3 days later, the number of starving people had doubled, and they couldn't hold on much longer. Chu Tian pulled 10 large beast carriages over, and each beast carriage was filled with large boxes. The shaman priests let out a sigh of relief when they saw this. They quickly shouted out, "Long live the shaman god," causing the warhound's starving people to loudly cheer. Luz revealed a confused expression. Why were there 10 carriages? There were already over 100,000 starving people here. Now that the news of the shaman sect's redemption of the refugees had quickly spread, it was likely that more refugees would come one after another. How many people could eat with just a dozen beast carriages? It wouldn't even be enough to fill the gaps between the teeth of these people. Open. What appeared in these boxes was not food as he had imagined. Instead, it was potions that had been stored in small jars. "This is the divine water bestowed by the shaman god." Chu Tian began to boast again. "This divine water can alleviate your illnesses and create large amounts of food for you to pass through." It wasn't just Luz. Everyone's faces were filled with shock. It was fine if the medicine could cure illnesses, but could it be used to fill one's stomach? Chu Tian took out a large bronze cauldron engraved with runes from the gourd. This bronze cauldron was a sacrificial tool used by the church, so it added a mysterious color to it. The shaman god said that everything in this world can be used to redeem one's life. Chu Tian said to everyone, "I ask everyone to send the grass into the cauldron. The shaman god's divine power will turn the fresh grass into food." Everyone was stunned hearing this. How is this possible? Luz was filled with doubts, but he was afraid of being seen through, so he couldn't directly ask. He could only help by shouting, "Everyone follow the envoy's words. The shaman god will not lie to his believers." There wasn't much grass. There was as much grass as he wanted. The large bronze cauldron was filled with bright green grass in less than 10 minutes. Chu Tian activated the source energy array on the large cauldron, and a surge of energy came from the cauldron. It was like all the grass had been thrown into a grass grinder and was immediately compressed into a large paste. Chu Tian acted as if he was a ghost and poured a bottle of medicine inside. In the end, an incredible thing happened. The paste quickly changed and finally turned into something like dry food. It was like it was made from baked grain, and it released an alluring fragrance. Pung. Chu Tian sent a palm at the cauldron. The dry rations were all ejected out, scattering among the refugees like a fairy scattering flowers. These refugees had long been starving, and when they smelled the alluring fragrance, they all rushed forward in a frenzy to snatch it. They were extremely hungry, and even if it was shit, as long as they could survive, they would eat it. But what was hard to believe was that not only could the dry food made from grass fill their stomachs, it also tasted pretty good. The most important thing was that when this dry food entered their stomachs, they could clearly feel their bodies getting better. A miracle. This really is a miracle. The warhound spirit beasts all knelt down in worship. Wasn't this a miracle? Why did the warhounds invade southern summer again and again? Wasn't it to survive? If even the cheapest grass could be turned into dry food, then the life of the warhounds spirit beasts and the warhounds plains would undergo a giant change. You've all seen it. Chu Tian loudly shouted. The shaman god has turned grass into food. Now the entire warhounds and the entire prairies are food. Not only can this food solve your hunger, it can also cure your illnesses. This is a gift from the great shaman god. You won't have to suffer from famine anymore. Luz was filled with admiration towards Chu Tian. If a few hundred tons of canned food were transported here, although the problem could be solved, the cost would be relatively high, and the effect would not be as good. However, he came up with such an unprecedented method, turning grass into food. Just this cauldron alone in this period of time, how many followers could the shaman religion attract? Chapter 928. The Black Moon sect's main hall exploded. Saber Chi soared into the sky. The might of this saber almost sent the roof of the hall flying. Two extremely fast figures charged out. One of them was the Black Moon sect's vice sect master, Endless Een, and the other was a stranger covered in flames that looked like a demon. The two of them attacked each other in the air, and the saber chi and sword chi collided, causing an explosion. The two of them were sent flying, causing the Black Moon sect disciples to cry out in shock. He's evenly matched with the vice sect master. This is a peak expert of the 5 famous mountains. He uses a sword. Could he be someone from the Heavenly Sword Mountain? No matter who it is, daring to make a move in the sect's forbidden area is provoking the Black Moon sect. Open the restriction and the barrier. Immediately prepare the talismans and bows to kill him. The Black Moon sect was thrown into chaos as countless cultivators prepared to surround him. No matter how high Chu Tian's cultivation was, with the Heavenly Een Mountain sect protecting Array and tens of thousands of cultivators working together, he had no chance of resisting at all. Stop! Everyone stop! Meng Ying shattered the wall with a palm and shouted at the people outside, "Look who is in our hands. If anyone dares to sneak attack, we'll kill them." The Black Moon sect disciples' eyes almost popped out. The wall of the main hall collapsed, and when the dust settled, an incomparably large block of ice appeared in front of them. This ice mountain was completely clear, without any impurities in it. If it wasn't for the light reflecting off the edges and the cold aura, people wouldn't have even noticed the existence of this large block of ice. It's the elders. The Black Moon sect disciples were stunned to find that the elders they respected like gods were all sealed in a large block of ice. Most of them still had a panicked expression as they ran away. Although there were still signs of life, they were frozen in ice, and they didn't have any ability to move or resist. Meng Ying supported Chun Bingyu with one hand and slapped the block of ice with the other. On the surface of the large block of ice, several small cracks appeared. Stop! Everyone stop! The Black Moon sect disciples quickly stopped their talismans and arrows. Too sinister, too despicable, but how did they do it? These elders were all true spirit realm experts. How could they be frozen in an ice mountain? Meng Ying looked at the Black Moon sect's gate that was becoming more and more crowded, and her heart was a bit hesitant. This matter was becoming bigger and bigger. She really didn't know how to end it. But this was also good. They would teach the Black Moon sect a lesson first, and Chu Tian's name would spread across the Great Zhou country. At that time, no one would look down on them when they went to the other sections. The two of them were about to fight. Endless Een was the Black Moon sect's vice sect master, so his Black Moon demonic art had been cultivated to the perfection realm. This was one of the Black Moon sect's main inherited cultivation techniques, cultivating extreme Een Chi, allowing one to transform into demons and ghosts. Therefore, it was very hard to deal with. Chu Tian released the demon god's sword and the flame demon transformation, but he could barely keep himself from losing. Endless Een was already filled with rage. These damn fellows dared to take a sect elder as a hostage. If this matter was spread, the Black Moon sect would lose all face. The only thing they could do now was to defeat them in one fell swoop and use this person as a hostage to deal with the two women. Profound Een evil ghost. Endless Een did not have any thoughts of slowly probing. Since the other side was in the first true spirit layer, although his battle strength was shocking, his spirit energy was too strong. Endless Een did not need to worry about using his spirit energy. He just needed to use his strongest move to deal with him. More than a dozen ferocious-looking ghosts emerged from their bodies. The ghosts were all wearing similar clothes to Endless Een, but they didn't wear masks, revealing skeletal faces. They held purple and black ghost-shaped blades in their hands that released a ghostly mist. They flew through the clouds, flickering as they appeared in all directions around Chu Tian. These were not normal undead monsters. Rather, they were formed from Een souls refined by the profound Een demonic technique for over 10 years. Each one of them was not inferior to a true spirit cultivator, and if several Een source spirits attacked at the same time, even a third true spirit layer cultivator would be in trouble. So powerful. This was the Vice Sect Master's strength. The Black Moon Sect disciples were filled with excitement. With the battle strength of several profound Een evil ghosts and the Vice Sect Master's own battle strength, it was hard for them to fight against experts of the same level. After all, he was the Vice Sect leader. His position was high and powerful, and he had exclusive access to resources. Putting everything else aside, just the dozen or so vengeful ghosts alone would require a terrifying amount of resources to refine. After cultivating with this kind of status, it was not strange for him to be stronger than ordinary people of the same level. Chu Tian gave a laugh. "I'm truly sorry. If you didn't cultivate a demonic art, perhaps you could fight me." Speaking indiscriminately, Dai, the Endless Een ghost head blade turned into a 10-meter-long blade that slashed out like a dazzling beam. The several dozen profound Een evil ghosts seized this chance and charged at Chu Tian from all directions. Each person's ghost head blade turned into a 12-meter-long blade that attacked him at the same time. Chu Tian's path of retreat was completely blocked, so he had no other choice but to block. But even the sacred light body couldn't block this kind of attack. When Chu Tian was about to be dismembered, the several evil ghosts let out pitiful cries as they exploded one by one. Like smoke, they were all sent to the little white fox, and the little fox swallowed them all in a single bite. What? Endless Een watched as the profound Een evil ghost he had refined for several years was easily destroyed, and he couldn't help revealing a look of disbelief. In this short moment of shock, the blade glow slowed down a bit. Chu Tian's eyes turned white, and he obtained innate spatial energy. He jumped out and dodged the attack. Spatial energy. Innate spatial energy. Endless Een was shocked once again. When he turned around, Chu Tian was already standing behind Endless Een. The demon god's sword source spirit was summoned, and the netherworld sword's power was released to its peak. Endless Een did not even have time to send out another slash when Chu Tian suddenly disappeared from the spot. He turned into 8 figures that appeared beside him at the same time. 8 of them were real, and 8 of them were condensing an attack. Netherworld clone slash. Chu Tian did not waste time at all as he used his strongest sword move. Endless Een found 8 dazzling sword glows that charged at him with extreme speed and might. Even with Endless Yin's strength, he could only block 5 of the swords, and 3 sword glows fell onto him at the same time. Endless Een gave a pitiful cry as his protective cultivation technique was broken. Although he wasn't cut into pieces, he was still heavily injured as he fell from the sky. The Black Moon sect's disciples almost collapsed. The sect elder had been taken hostage, and even the respected vice sect master had been defeated by the other side. Was the Black Moon sect going to suffer a large loss this time? Chu Tian released the flame demon transformation and grabbed the heavily injured Endless Een, placing his sword across his neck. Meng Yingying revealed a look of joy. There was another heavyweight captive. Then they could properly extort the Black Moon sect. The Black Moon sect was a sect with thousands of years of history, so they must have accumulated quite a bit. It was unknown if they had spatial crystals. Endless Een was still conscious. The sword wound wasn't heavy, but the netherworld ghost flame was too sinister. His cultivation needed to suppress the netherworld flame that invaded his body, so he couldn't resist it at all. Do you think you can leave the heavenly Een mountains alive like this? Huh. You don't need to worry about this. Chu Tian retreated to the square. He grabbed Endless Een with one hand and waved his sword with the other. Your vice sect master is in my hands now. So let's talk about the ransom conditions. These madmen, they actually wanted to capture the vice sect master to extort the sect? Even if they captured the elder and the vice sect master, would they be able to relax? Once the Heavenly Een Mountain's various restrictions were activated, even if they had wings, they wouldn't be able to fly out of the Heavenly Een Mountain. Once the Heavenly Een Mountain's protective array was activated, it would instantly destroy everything. What confidence did he have to act so arrogantly here? But the elder and vice sect master were indeed captured. Most of the Black Moon sect's high-level members had fallen into the hands of these people, and the Black Moon sect couldn't find a single person to lead them. You call yourself the Great Summer Country's envoy, but I think you were just helpers that woman brought. I'm telling you, the Great Zhou royal family has no hope. They have already been completely destroyed. What kind of storm can a trivial princess cause? Although I don't know who you are, meddling in the Great Zhou country's matters won't end well for you. Endless Een gritted his teeth. This was the only possibility. The Great Summer Country had just been established, so why would they fight with one of the Great Zhou country's 6 famous mountains, the Heavenly Een Mountain? They wouldn't do something like this unless they were crazy. But I'm very sorry. Chu Tian's way of thinking was indeed different from normal people. The Great Zhou royal family's princess? Chu Tian really didn't know Chun Bingyu's identity. The Great Zhou royal family was slaughtered, and Chun Bingyu was the only fish that escaped the net. This could also explain why Chun Bingyu wandered alone and finally joined the Nangong family as a guest official in Imperial City, staying with the Nangong family for 10 years. Chu Tian didn't know what was going on, but it didn't matter. He would figure out sooner or later. He had the advantage now. Chun Bingyu had sealed most of the Black Moon sect's high-level members. With these people's lives in his hands, the Black Moon sect wouldn't take any risks, so there was room for negotiation. The 3 of them were not afraid of the Black Moon sect's people from the beginning. If the situation was bad, the 3 of them could return to Central State City or Miracle City, even taking a few hostages along the way. Unless the Black Moon sect had a powerful existence that could instantly kill the 3 of them, making it so the 3 of them couldn't even activate their transport scrolls. But this possibility was very small. If Chu Tian used all his cards, not to mention Endless Een, even a spirit transformation expert wouldn't be able to instantly kill the 3 of them. Why hasn't the Black Moon sect's true boss appeared? Where is he? Quickly say it. Humph, if the sect master wasn't in closed-door cultivation, how could you be so arrogant? 10 minutes. Chu Tian placed his sword on Endless Yin's neck. Call your sect master out to see me. Otherwise, I'll cut this fellow. You. No need. When the Black Moon sect's people were filled with rage, a voice came from the sky. I'm already here. Chapter 929. Lu said in a grateful voice, "It's all thanks to Sir City Lord's help that several 100,000 people have gathered over the past 2 days. I think most of them can become shaman believers. We will pick out talented people to train into shaman sorcerers to work for the city lord. The shaman religion originated from the spirit beast religion, so there's a high chance of success in this area. With Miracle Commerce's support and the Forest of Chaos experts' help, if you can't succeed even with this. Chu Tian looked at him. Don't come back to see me, just go eat shit and commit suicide. Luz wiped his sweat. Yes, we will definitely succeed. There was no problem with the Warhound planes. The transport tower couldn't be delayed any longer. At this time, the Great Summer King, Dong Fanggan, contacted Chu Tian. He had already prepared the map and information of the various countries, and also wanted Chu Tian's help. He wanted Chu Tian to make a trip to the Great Summer northern capital. The Great Summer Imperial City had been moved to the central state. The former Imperial City had been renamed the Northern Capital, and although it wasn't the capital, it was still several hundred years old and was the #1 city in the north. When they announced their independence as the Great Summer Kingdom, all kinds of trouble came. A large kingdom was not just a name. Once they became a large kingdom, their diplomatic rank would be higher than the small kingdoms. The surrounding small kingdoms would even have to pay taxes to the large kingdoms for protection. There weren't many interactions between kingdoms in this era. Unless it was a subordinate kingdom or a vassal kingdom, there wasn't any geopolitical considerations. However, if there were several powers appearing in the same area, it would affect the interests and influence of those with vested interests. The Warhound's kingdom was a subordinate kingdom of the Eagle Burial Kingdom. There was no other way. The Great Summer Kingdom was an independent kingdom. So how could it be easy for them to become a large kingdom? The surrounding kingdoms all had opinions about the Great Summer Kingdom, but these small kingdoms had limited abilities, so there was no need to care about them. What they needed to do now was to take care of some of the large kingdoms. This did not conflict with Chu Tian's mission. Chu Tian needed to find the incomparably precious spatial crystals, so he couldn't just run to a small kingdom to find them, right? Since it was like this, he would just do it. After obtaining the map and the relevant information, Chu Tian began his visit as a Great Summer Kingdom scholar. I still don't understand a bit. Meng Yingying sat on the airship. How did you turn the weeds into food? These are clearly weeds, so why do they have the ability to cure illnesses? Actually, it's not hard to explain. The Warhound Plains soil is very fertile and contains a lot of spiritual energy. The grass can raise the herds of beasts on the plains, which means it contains a lot of energy. However, humans and demon beasts have different body structures, so we can't absorb it. Chu Tian paused before continuing. I just used medicine and source energy arrays to make the grass easier to absorb. It can indeed fill one's stomach and maintain one's life, but it doesn't have high nutritional value, so it's not suitable for long-term consumption. Meng Yingying revealed an expression of understanding. Then the reason why the food can cure illnesses is because the antidote was mixed into the medicine. There are also times when you aren't stupid. Pei, you're the stupid one. The two of them sat on the airship chatting and playing. Chun Bingyu sat on the side, holding a cup of tea, not saying a single word. Meng Yingying was tired from playing with Chu Tian. Where are we preparing to go? Chu Tian opened a large map with the Warhound Plains as the center. There were countries all over the Warhound Plains, with 3-4 small kingdoms in the north. Only these small kingdoms had smaller territories and populations than the southern summer country, and had already been annexed by the Eagle Burial Kingdom. So to the north of these small kingdoms, there was a vast kingdom territory. Although the map couldn't show the entire Eagle Burial Kingdom, just the part that was shown was like a mountain pressing down on the north. The Eagle Burial Kingdom was a spirit beast warring kingdom and the only warring kingdom nearby. Chu Tian had no interest in the Eagle Burial Kingdom and the Eagle Burial Kingdom's sphere of influence. Because of the chaos of war, it was hard for these places to have a mature market, so it was unlikely he could find the materials he wanted. Chu Tian's eyes looked over the large and small kingdoms around the Warhound Plains, finally falling onto a country in the southwest that wasn't small. This country was narrow and long, not too big, but was a place where several earth veins intersected, therefore it was rich in resources. When Chu Tian saw the name of the country, He immediately thought of the bronze-masked old man he met in the Central State black market. Looking around, there are only a few large kingdoms this can be considered one. There hasn't been any large disturbances in several hundred years. Although the country isn't large, it is rich in resources, so the country's strength should be very strong. This is a large kingdom that is more worthy of its name than the Warhound's kingdom or the newly formed Great Summer Country. Let's go there. What is the name of its country? Great Zhou Country. Huh. Meng Yingying and Chu Tian didn't have any reactions. Chun Bingyu, who had been sitting quietly, suddenly trembled, and the cup in her hand fell to the ground, shattering into pieces. Meng Yingying asked in a strange voice, "What's wrong with elder sister Bingyu?" Chun Bingyu realized that she had forgotten herself. "No, nothing." Meng Yingying's face was filled with confusion, and Chu Tian also saw it. Chun Bingyu was hiding some secrets. This woman's background was not normal, and she might not even be a Southern Summer citizen. From her reaction just now, could she be related to the Great Zhou Country? The Great Zhou Country wasn't much larger than the Southern Summer Country, but because of its strange shape, it was like a long snake twisting and turning. It allowed it to have direct or indirect contact with the Eagle Burial Kingdom, the Warhound's Plains, the Southern Summer Country, and even the Forest of Chaos. In the ancient era, the Great Zhou Country was a very prosperous land, so there were many precious inheritances and ruins left behind. The Great Zhou Country was built on the inheritances of their ancestors, so there were many sects in the Great Zhou Country. All kinds of inheritances clashed with each other. This was a country of sects, so there was no fixed royal family or noble class. It was mainly the sects that ruled the country. The Great Zhou Country was a relatively close neighbor and also the strongest one. Chu Tian came to visit the Great Zhou Country as a Great Summer Country scholar, and it was best if he could form an alliance with the Great Zhou Country. The Eagle Burial Kingdom dominated the north, so they were always a threat. If the Great Summer and Great Zhou countries joined together and supported the Northern Militant Kingdom as the vanguard, it wouldn't be hard to resist the Eagle Burial Kingdom. At least they could stop them from going south. Of course, it was hard to say if the Great Zhou country would give Chu Tian face. The airship flew tens of thousands of meters in the air, crossing countless deserts and fields before finally leaving the Great Summer Country's territory. Ancient cities and buildings began to appear in front of them. The world was large, and there were all kinds of strange things. Even human countries had different customs. The Great Zhou Country's powers were hidden deep in the mountains, and the sects were built in deserted paradise lands. The strength of the cities in the secular world wasn't that strong, and most of the cities were just representatives of sects in the secular world. They cultivated elixirs and raised spirit beasts, but in the end they had to pay tribute to the large sects, using this method to obtain protection. They arrived at the Heavenly Mountain. The Heavenly Mountain was one of the Great Zhou Country's 8 famous mountains, and it was said to be one of the most ancient ruins. One of the Great Zhou Country's 6 large sects, the Black Moon sect, a sect that had existed for thousands of years. The surrounding large and small cities were all built around the Heavenly Mountain, belonging to the Black Moon sect's outer sect. Each city in the Black Moon sect's sphere of influence was the Black Moon sect's property. If the Black Moon sect didn't protect them, these people wouldn't be able to survive here. Because of this, the people of the Heavenly Mountain treated the Black Moon sect as their highest duty. Most people would choose to join the Black Moon sect's outer sect as an outer sect disciple. If their talent was good enough, they could enter the Heavenly Mountain and officially become an inner sect disciple of the Black Moon sect, obtaining the Black Moon sect's thousands of years of inheritance. The Great Summer Country used states as geographical units. The Great Zhou Country used mountain gates as geographical units. This was very interesting. In order to not attract too much attention, Chu Tian decided to ride a normal griffin to discuss the situation. Although he was the Great Summer Country's envoy, meeting the Great Zhou Country's king was a very troublesome matter. Wah, a griffin? It's actually a griffin. Chu Tian brought Chun Bingyu and Meng Yingying to a place called Gathering City, which should be one of the largest cities near the Heavenly Mountain. What made the three of them feel strange was that when they rode a griffin here, it immediately caused a stir. It was as if the gathering city citizens had never seen such a high-level mount before. Meng Yingying was puzzled. The Great Zhou country is a large country. Why is a level 2 flying mount making such a big fuss out of nothing? The Great Zhou country's peak strength is concentrated in the large mountain gates. Chun Bingyu said in a low voice, "These secular cities only have a few outer sect powers. They aren't that strong." The Great Zhou country's strength was not evenly distributed. This was also a characteristic of sectarian countries. Chu Tian didn't care. When he was about to inquire about the situation, the crowd suddenly separated and a large group of black armored guards charged out. The one leading them was a large fat man wearing a jade robe. "What sect are you from?" This fat man first looked at the handsome griffin with a greedy gaze, and then his eyes fell onto Meng Yingying. He couldn't help revealing a look of surprise and joy, but his voice was very arrogant. "Without reporting, why are you charging into the heavenly mountain?" Chu Tian wasn't here to cause trouble. He cupped his hands and said, "I am a great summer country scholar. I have come to visit a famous mountain in the Great Zhou country, may I ask?" "Great summer country? Huh. Are you talking about the small country that was beaten half to death by the spirit beasts in the southeast?" After this fat man understood where Chu Tian's group came from, his attitude became even more disdainful. These people looked very young, and they came from small country. So, there were probably some young master or young miss from that place who didn't know their place and came here. "I am an outer sect elder of the Black Moon sect, and a deacon of Gathering City. You have entered the heavenly mountain and have broken the rules. Leave this griffin behind and use it as a tribute to the Black Moon sect." Meng Yingying was filled with rage. It had been a long time since someone dared to bully them. This was intolerable. "Fatty, why are you so unreasonable?" "Humph, these are the rules. It's just a griffin. No problem, no problem." Chu Tian patted Meng Yingying's shoulder and comforted her. With his identity and status, he didn't care about a level 2 demon beast. "This esteemed elder, can you introduce me to a high-level member of the Black Moon sect?" The fat man was a bit shocked. This brat just gave out a level 2 griffin like this? This griffin was worth at least 20 low-grade source stones. Could he have met a group of prodigal children? Chapter 9:30. 10 figures were carrying a coffin carved out of red crystal. The surroundings were shrouded in a hazy, bloody mist as they crossed the sky. The coffin was lifelike, and there were demons and monsters carved on it. A thick, murderous aura filled the entire sky, creating a strong sense of oppression. Meng Yingying was a bit nervous. The strongest one seems to be coming out. Chu Tian slightly raised his brows. "Thousand-year corpse monster?" The 10 people carrying the coffin were not living people at all. They were 10 corpses. They were covered in red corpse hair and were covered in evil red corpse poison. These were all characteristics of corpse monsters. These were 10 corpse monsters with true spirit cultivation, each one being in the second true spirit layer. 10 second true spirit layer corpse monsters were enough to sweep through the Great Zhou country. But what was even more terrifying was that these 10 corpse monsters had clear eyes. 10 pairs of eyes gathered together, and it was like they were looking at Chu Tian from afar, trying to be mysterious. Chu Tian released his mind's lamp divine sense and swept over the corpse monsters. He was surprised to find that the corpse monsters had weak thoughts and spiritual energy fluctuations, which meant that these 10 corpse monsters had a certain level of intelligence. Chu Tian gathered his divine sense and sent it into the coffin in the middle. The red coffin released a strong divine sense that instantly blocked Chu Tian's divine sense. The two divine senses collided in the air, and Chu Tian's divine sense could not break through the other side's divine sense barrier. "Not a bad divine sense." A voice came from the red coffin. This voice was not a real voice, but rather it was directly transmitted to people's minds through the mind's lamp divine sense. Just a bit off. Chu Tian had never suffered a loss in terms of divine sense. The Black Moon Sect's master clearly had the same mind's lamp divine sense as Chu Tian. This realm of divine sense could skip scouting and directly affect a target, but what was not simple was that his divine sense was a bit stronger than Chu Tian's. Is that so? Chu Tian's eyes suddenly turned golden, and the divine sense power that was originally surrounding the coffin suddenly condensed into an invisible divine sense sword, which suddenly pierced through the Black Moon Sect's divine sense barrier. That's right, the Black Moon Sect's master's divine sense was a bit stronger than Chu Tian's, but Chu Tian had turned his divine sense into an invisible divine sense sword. The Black Moon Sect's master's divine sense barrier was like a large and fragile bubble that could be broken with a single poke. The Black Moon Sect's master was hit by Chu Tian's divine sense as he let out a cry of surprise. The 10 corpse monsters carrying the coffin were cut off like puppets and fell from the sky. The large coffin also fell down and slammed into the ground with a deep sound. Chu Tian's face was filled with shock, because when his divine sense entered the coffin, the Black Moon Sect's master's appearance appeared in front of him. It was actually a meter-tall little girl with 2 braids. She looked to be around 10 years old and had a childish look on her face. There's no mistake. Chu Tian had a puzzled look. The Black Moon Sect's master is a stinky brat. Rude, you're the one who hasn't reached adulthood yet. The coffin suddenly opened, and a figure soared into the sky. It was the little girl Chu Tian had just seen, but her face was pale like she hadn't seen the sun in 100 years. Her little body was wearing a large red robe, and she looked like a doll, but the Black Moon Sect's master's eyes were dark red, revealing a maturity that didn't match her appearance. I'm the Black Moon Sect's 18th generation sect mastering spirit. I have been the sect master for 15 years. Greetings, sect master. Greetings, sect master. The Black Moon Sect's cultivators all bowed down. Although the sect master didn't look shocking, she wasn't simple. She was the most outstanding person in the Black Moon Sect in the last 1,000 years. She had cultivated the sect's profound demonic art, demonic corpse technique, and 9 netherworld meditation art to the perfection realm, combining it with her own situation to create a cultivation technique. She named it the Spirit Scripture. This cultivation technique was not inferior to the 6 famous mountains cultivation techniques. So it could be said that although the Black Moon Sect's sect master was the youngest of the 6 famous mountains, she was still a genius of the present age. Chu Tian revealed a smile. This 10-year-old little girl's sect master was indeed a bit older, but she was around the same age as Chun Bingyu. She shouldn't be over 40 years old, but because she cultivated a special cultivation technique or had a special bloodline or physique, she maintained the appearance of a 10-year-old little girl. The 10 corpse monsters all stood up and returned to their sides. Spirit's little body floated up and floated in the middle of the 10 corpses, as if she was weightless. Because she had just suffered a loss, the great sect master felt very embarrassed. Her childish face revealed a fierce expression as she spoke in a childish voice, a trivial divine sense secret technique. This one doesn't care about it at all. Why did you cause trouble in the heavenly mountain and capture my Black Moon Sect's people? Chu Tian understood Spirit's strength. 4th true spirit layer cultivation, heaven spirit realm strength. Perhaps it wouldn't be easy to deal with her. Not to mention that Chu Tian could feel that spirit energy was very strange and strong. She most likely had many ancient cultivation techniques, and she had cultivated them all to the perfection realm. So her battle strength was even stronger than Clark and the other locals. Chu Tian did not say anything, but Endless said, "That black-clothed girl is the great Zhou royal family's princess. They must be here for revenge. Don't worry about us. Sect Master, please make your move." Meng Yingying had a strange expression. Did these people make a mistake? Revenge for the great Zhou royal family? There was no such thing. Great Zhou royal family? The great Zhou royal family did not have a royal family. In the past, the great Zhou royal family was raised by the 6 famous mountains in the secular world. But who would have thought that this fellow would have a hidden bloodline power? They had been hiding their strength, try to become the seventh power of the Great Zhou country and control the entire secular world. In Spirit thought back while saying in a childish voice, "It has to be said, the Great Zhou king almost succeeded in the past. 18 years ago, the Great Zhou royal family's strength was close to the 6 famous mountains. He only used a few generations to reach this step. This is truly amazing. Bloodline cultivators cannot be underestimated." So it was like this. Chu Tian understood what was going on. Under the lead of the Heavenly Sword Mountain, the 6 famous mountains attacked the Great Zhou royal family. The Black Moon Sect's master was my master in the past. Although he did not participate in the attack, the royal family's destruction was not the fault of the 6 famous mountains. Rather, it was them destroying themselves. In Spirit said in an old voice, "If you don't consider yourself, you are just a nouveau riche. If you want to challenge the thousands of years of heritage of the 6 famous mountains, what difference is there from seeking death?" Chu Tian nodded. What he said was a bit reasonable. Chun Bingyu furrowed her eyebrows. Her memories of what happened 18 years ago were already hazy. She knew just how powerful the 6 famous mountains were, so she had buried this matter deep within her heart. Although her parents and siblings had been brutally murdered, and she had always been filled with resentment, she had never thought about revenge. These fellows must have misunderstood. Chu Tian didn't know about her matter at all. In Spirit warned, even if she is the last princess of the Great Zhou royal family, the Great Zhou royal family has already been destroyed, so she can't give you any promises. This one doesn't know what power is behind you, but if you go against the 6 famous mountains for her, that is not rational at all. Chu Tian shrugged his shoulders. Then how do you want to deal with us? Return the vice sect master, the elders, and this so-called Great Zhou princess. Then cut off an arm as punishment, and this one will swear on the name of the sect master to let you go. Hey, dream on. Meng Yingying shouted. We won't hand over Big Sister Bingyu. If you have the skills, then come and catch us. In Spirit was enraged. She had already made a large concession. These fellows still dared to be this arrogant. Chu Tian's eyes turned. Sect Master's corpse refining skills aren't weak, actually having 10 corpse monsters as guards. Only I don't know how strong these corpse monsters are. Humph, it's more than enough to deal with these 3-legged cats. Since Sect Master says this, then let's play a game. Chu Tian said with a smile. Actually, this one knows a bit about corpse refining, so I'll use my refined in-corpses to challenge Sect Master's in-corpses. If Sect Master wins, we'll release them unconditionally, and if Sect Master loses, you'll help us and the Great Zhou Princess rebuild the royal family. Of course, you can refuse at that time, and we'll just watch the hostage-killing show. What do you think? It was like In Spirit had heard the funniest joke in the world, immediately breaking out in laughter. The other Black Moon Sect people looked at each other in blank dismay. The 10 corpse monsters were in front of them. Was this fellow blind? He actually wanted to compete with the Sect Master in corpse refining. Could it be that he could take out corpses that were stronger than the 10 corpse monsters? Meng Yingying and Chun Bingyu were a bit stunned, naturally understanding what Chu Tian wanted to do. Chun Bingyu looked at Chu Tian's figure with a bit of disbelief. Rebuild the Great Zhou royal family? He wasn't joking, right? I'll bet with you. But where are your corpses? Don't worry, they're all here. Chu Tian took out 18 small scrolls and placed them on the ground. These scrolls were spatial storage scrolls made from the leftover materials of the space tower. They could be used to store the 18 divine servants. Come out. The 18 spatial storage scrolls automatically opened, and the compressed space inside was released. 18 dark, golden-skinned figures appeared in front of them. They were the 18 divine servants that Chu Tian had spent a lot of time and effort to make. In Spirit said with a stunned expression, "What kind of corpses are these?" The 18 divine servants that Chu Tian released completely subverted In Spirit's understanding of corpses. The corpses were divided into black corpses, white corpses, corpse monsters, and corpse kings. Unless it was a corpse king, the corpses would be covered in fur. How could this fellow release a corpse king? The 18 corpses looked very strange. But the energy fluctuations they released were around the same as the corpse monsters, even being a bit weaker. How did you refine them? You want to learn? Unorthodox methods. What is there to learn? Ian's spirit disdainfully said, I'll let you see how strong the corpse monsters controlled by the Ian spirit scripture are. She didn't see any movements. The 10 Ian corpses took the initiative to take a step forward. Chu Tian understood, using divine sense to control them. This was why when Ian's spirit's divine sense failed in midair, the Ian corpses immediately lost control. This is only a competition between Ian corpses. Ian's spirit was worried that the same thing would happen again. If you dare use your divine sense to interfere with the control, the bet will be nullified. Don't blame me for being impolite at that time. Divine sense controlling corpses was very easy. But because of this, experts skilled in divine sense attacks were the bane of Ian's spirit's corpse control techniques. Ian's spirit knew her weakness, so she made her divine sense this strong. There was no one in the great Zhou country that could make her suffer a loss. This Chu Tian was the first. Chu Tian shrugged his shoulders. Of course, I'm a person with a competitive spirit. If you have any skills, then come. Ian's spirit's hands quickly formed seals, and 10 seals fell onto the 10 Ian corpses. Ian's spirit seal, external incarnation. The 10 corpse monsters seemed to be filled with some kind of power. Roar. The 10 corpse monsters released a powerful strength, forming their own source spirits. Even Chu Tian was shocked this time. What was going on? The corpse monsters also had source spirits. Ian's spirit revealed a proud smile. It's too late to regret now. Chapter 9:31. Meng Yingying's body trembled with anger. Chu Tian was not angry, not because he could endure it, but rather because he was very puzzled. What was this pig's brain made of? He was probably one of the strongest people in Yin Gathering City and was used to being tyrannical. He had the Black Moon sect behind him, so he was not afraid of these young people from small countries. But did he not notice that he could not see through the cultivation of these 3 young people? This damn pig was at most in the 5th to 6th awakened soul layer. In Chu Tian's eyes, this level was not even considered trash. In the past, even a third-rate expert in Imperial City would be stronger than him by a large amount. Even in Central State City, he would at most be considered second-rate. This kind of idiot was crazily shouting at these true spirit cultivators, and he actually felt good about himself. For a poor and small country to be able to cultivate in a large country, this is the blessing of several lifetimes. I am an outer sect elder of the Black Moon sect, and many of my family's elders are in the Black Moon sect, so I will enter the inner sect sooner or later. At that time, I will have a status in the Great Zhou country. What this brat can give you, I can also give you, so why do you need to follow a young master from a small country? The fatty already considered Meng Yingying to be his, I don't like to use force, so if you know what's good for you, then come over. Otherwise, Chu Tian shook his head. Yingying, if you can't hold it in, then don't hold it in. It's not good if you hurt your body, but I'll protect you if something happens. The Black Moon sect outer sect elder was stunned by Chu Tian's words. Meng Yingying released a dazzling glow of spirit energy. A mirror appeared above her head, and a giant flame bird appeared in the mirror. An incomparably hot spirit energy surged out, accompanied by a loud and divine phoenix cry. It suddenly resounded through the 9 heavens. The onlookers were all stunned. Chu Tian also revealed a shocked expression. Meng Yingying's mirror source spirit's main ability was duplication, but duplication had its limits. 2 high-level source spirits, 2 high-level cultivation techniques. She had no way of duplicating them. Other than that, the duplication source spirit was effective, but the mirror image would disappear after a few days. Now, not only could Meng Yingying duplicate a god-level source spirit, she could also keep a mirror image. This meant that this girl's strength had increased by a lot, and her source spirit had also increased with her strength, so she could keep a permanent mirror image. Although it was lacking compared to the real Fire Phoenix source spirit, it was still a very strong battle-type source spirit. Countless raging flames transformed into a pair of huge phoenix wings, and countless scorching and destructive divine flames flowed around her body, making her look like a goddess who controlled flames and the power of destruction. Even a blind person would be able to see it. This little girl that didn't look that old, her cultivation was far beyond imagination. That fatty quickly shouted, "I am an outer sect elder of the Black Moon sect. This is the heavenly Een Mountain Ranges territory. If you dare touch a single hair on my head, do you think you can escape unscathed?" Humph. After following Chu Tian for this long, you want to scare me with this kind of threat? Pa! Meng Yingying gave a tender laugh. Heaven-burning fist. This move was clearly copied from Nan Gongyan's body. A huge flaming fist smashed into the fatty's body, and that pitiful protective yuan qi evaporated like it had met with high-temperature water. The berserk flaming energy was like a flood that broke through a dam and instantly smashed into a house on the opposite side, burning a hole in the ground along the way. Meng Yingying was shocked by herself. I actually became this strong. He had clearly used 20% of his strength in that punch. Damn fatty couldn't have been killed in one punch, right? The surrounding people began to shout in fear. Ah, the elder has been beaten. How dare you? You actually dare to beat the outer sect elder of the Black Moon sect in Tianyi Mountain? Dozens of black armored guards surrounded them in anger and shock. Meng Yingying casually sent out another palm, this time using only 10% of her strength. The palm energy turned into raging flames, attacking the dozens of guards. They were like dozens of logs that had been set on fire, falling to the ground with a ping, ping, pang, pang, pang sound. They painfully fought against the flames on their bodies. None of them were able to get up. Chu Tian walked in front of the dazed Meng Yingying and said with a smile, "How is it? Does it feel good to beat people up?" She had never beaten up someone who bullied her like this before. It felt good enough, but wasn't it a bit too much? "I'm sorry, I only used 10 to 20% of my strength." Meng Yingying's face was filled with embarrassment. She looked at the people rolling on the ground, and then looked at Chu Tian. I didn't think they would be this weak. This couldn't be blamed on her. Meng Yingying had very little battle experience, and her strength had increased very quickly, so she couldn't act as she pleased. "AI, this is nothing. This is already considered light." Chu Tian shook his head. Nangong personally made a move. Even if she used 10% of her strength, she would still be able to burn these fellows to ashes. Although she can duplicate the Fire Phoenix source spirit, she still can't obtain its essence. She still has to work hard. Meng Yingying received Chu Tian's affirmation and immediately said with a smile, "Yes." The Great Zhou country's sects are very clear. Outsiders making a move in their territory is considered a great provocation. Chun Bingyu slightly knit her brows and reminded him, "The Black Moon sect is very strong. They have over 10 true spirit experts in their sect. I'm afraid we'll attract trouble." Chu Tian looked at Chun Bingyu with an intriguing gaze. Big Sister Bing seems to be very familiar with the Great Zhou country. But Chu Tian was never a person afraid of causing trouble. Taking one step at a time was not Chu Tian's style, so it was better to make a large hole in the ground and let the Great Zhou country know of Chu Tian's existence. This would make things easier. With several long cries, 2 coffins quickly came from the west. One coffin was fire red, with large amounts of fire runes engraved on it. The other was blue and white, with large amounts of ice runes engraved on it. Although their strengths were different, it was probably because they cultivated the same sex cultivation technique. They were both covered in a thick corpse energy and poison mist, charging over at a very fast speed. These are experts from the inner sect, the famous fire and ice twins. This is one of the most talented geniuses in the younger generation of the Xianin sect. 2 figures came out of the 2 coffins. One was wearing a red robe covered in flames, and the other was wearing a white robe covered in frost. One fire and one ice, repelling each other, but also intertwining with each other. It actually formed a kind of fire and ice cycle, a feeling of life and death. Who dares cause trouble in the Black Moon sect? The 2 intersect elites were both wearing masks, but their stature and height were exactly the same. Even when they spoke, they were like a pair of twins. I did it. Meng Yingying sensed that the other side was not as strong as she imagined, around the 8-9th awakened soul layer. She was filled with confidence. The Great Zhou country was only so. Your Black Moon sect disciples bully the weak and have bad morals. I had to teach them a lesson. Shameless boasting. The two of them were instantly enraged. The Black Moon sect is an important place. How could we allow you to act so wildly? I'll let you see how strong the Black Moon sect is. Meng Yingying and Chu Tian looked at each other. After getting a confirmation, she said without any fear, "Don't try to scare me. I'm not afraid of you." The fight between the two sides instantly erupted. The two Black Moon sect intersect elites used their secret techniques to attack Meng Yingying several times. What made them surprised was that no matter how they attacked, they would be bounced back by a layer of light. "You're only SOSO. Meng Yingying was filled with pride. She felt like a war god had possessed her. Probably because she was in front of Chu Tian, she also wanted to show off, so she used her newly learned starlight movement technique. She took several steps in the air and flashed like lightning. Two palms shot out, clean and direct. It didn't seem like it was as powerful as when she hit the fatty, but she had already used 40 to 50% of her strength. Spirit energy condensed on her arms, forming a thick layer of true spirit. Even if it was steel, it would still be cut in half. True spirit energy. The two brothers were filled with shock. It's a true spirit cultivator. The two of them were filled with shock, but it was already too late to escape. Meng Yingying sent one flying with a palm, just like throwing away two pieces of paper. The Yin Gathering City onlookers were all filled with shock. It was already not simple for a young girl to defeat an outer sect elder of the Black Moon sect, but they never would have thought that she could actually defeat an inner sect elite disciple. The strength of these two brothers wasn't bad. They could fight across realms, but it was impossible for them to defeat a true spirit cultivator. Not to mention that they couldn't break Meng Yingying's defense. Even if they were in the same realm, they most likely wouldn't be able to defeat Meng Yingying. Who are you people? Because her strength increased quickly and her spirit energy became stronger, it could increase her lifespan and slow down her growth. Meng Yingying's appearance had not changed at all. She was still the same as when Chu Tian saw her over a year ago. She looked to be around 15-16 years old, an ignorant young girl in the prime of her youth. A 15-16-year-old girl in the prime of her youth had a shocking, true spirit cultivation. This kind of matter was unimaginable even in the Great Zhou country. Yingying, stop. Chu Tian walked in front of the two Black Moon sect inner sect disciples. After all this time, you're on our side. If I knew earlier, I would have gone to find you. I haven't seen you in a year, and your strength has increased quite quickly. The 10-corpse monster inner core's back, then must have brought quite a bit of benefits. The Flame Ghost and Ice Demon brothers were a bit stunned. You are Lu Ren? Although it had been over a year, and the young man's appearance had changed, his temperament couldn't be changed. When Flame Ghost and Ice Demon saw him, they immediately recognized him as the mysterious youth Lu Ren they met in the southern summer country's black market. The sword on his back and the fox sleeping on his shoulder proved this point. Now it seemed like Lu Ren was just a fake name, and his appearance back then was a disguise. Chu Tian never thought he would meet these two brothers this coincidentally. That's right, it's me, but my real name is Chu Tian. Flame Ghost and Ice Demon looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. It really was this fellow. It was no wonder. Although they had only known Chu Tian for a short time, they knew that this youth was a monstrous genius. The Black Moon sect's outer sect elder, the bronze-masked old man, had brought the Flame Ghost brothers to the 10,000-corpse ancient tomb. If it wasn't for this fellow, the two of them would have died like the outer sect elder. So it's Brother Chu. Flame Ghost quickly stood up. This was all a misunderstanding. Ice Demon also said, Brother Chu has done the Black Moon sect a favor. I think the sect master and the elders and protectors will want to see you. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.